Morning, morning all. Good morning. Morning, Roxanne. Pauline Buckmeyer, good morning. Rena Jennings, morning to you. Shadley Jimenez, morning. Arlene Lewis, good morning, Arlene. And what's this one? Lisa Atwater, morning. Terence Swan, morning to you. Morning, Anna. How is the weather in Canada? Good morning to His Excellency, President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, and First Lady Mauricia Keegan. Diane, morning. Morning, Daryl. Jeremy Lewis, morning. Yes, we are live. Joycelyn Roberts, Raghunath Song, good morning. Marlene, morning to you. Morning, Joy. Sherry and George, morning to you. Gemma Alexander, morning, Gemma. Okay, I'm hearing. Joycelyn is saying she's not hearing me. What's going on here, babe? So, see. Morning, Claire, Marilyn, Cloud, morning. Good morning, Merle. Marva James, morning, Marva. Pamela Nelson, morning to you. Brian Jackson over on YouTube. The Patriot, morning. Rookman Gangadine, morning to you. You have a good day as well. Well, it's 4 degrees in Canada. Oh, Lord. Somebody wants me to come up there for Christmas. Yikes. Morning, Jen. Denise Coggins, good morning. Morning, Angie. Angie's on. Anton Batiste, morning. Alison Rogers. Morning, Melka. Morning, Carol. Carol, I might get my ticket today. I get a call. Well, I got a call about the ticket. So I guess we'll see how that going. They're trying to get a second ticket for me to bring a guest, but I told them that's not necessary. I am fine with whoever is there. So we'll see how that works out, Carol. Leon Graves, morning. Gaylan, morning. Let's tell Denise, morning. Denise Coggins. Angela Carty, morning, Angela. Candice Joseph. Marlene Payne. Morning, Allison. There's a guy I met yesterday at the Hyatt. I didn't get his name though, but he told me his father is an ardent listener. And he said, if my father only knew I met you today. So I don't know if the gentleman is listening. Good morning to you, because your son would probably have told you that we met up yesterday at the Hyatt. So Candice Joseph, morning. What's the time there? Right, let me jump in. So, what to talk about today, right? Two things I saw yesterday. Listen, well, one thing I saw, one thing I heard. Jenny Joseph, morning. Leroy don't want to get. Yeah, Jed. I want to touch on that too. So when I open the lines, you could call in and give us a little update on that. So yesterday I was going through Facebook and I saw that the brother, Stuart Young's brother, Angus Young, was appointed to as the new CEO of the NCB commercial. That's not. I'm gonna get the exact, the correct thing here. Don't want to misrepresent. Never a dull moment in Trinidad and Tobago, and you know, Lord Father. Anyway, look at this. I'm sure some of you would have seen it. Right. Angus Young gets a promotion, and this was posted by CNC3 yesterday. Local financial executive Angus Young has been appointed as the new CEO of NCB Capital Markets, which is the parent company or the parent of the NCB Merchant Bank, the local non-bank financial institution and broker-dealer. So that some of you would have seen that yesterday. It was in the Guardian. Young is the brother of Minister of Energy Stuart Young and the son of Richard Young, the chairman of TTIFC. The Guardian felt the need to put that as the second paragraph, and they know why they did it. So we're looking to stir up Couture and Bacchanal. So just in case, or you don't know who he is, but you find he looking like somebody you all know, let us confirm it for you that he is in fact the brother of Minister of Energy Stuart Young. Right, so you all could go in the comments now and make a Bacchanal. Because anyway. In a statement Monday, NCB Financial Group emphasized Young's wealth of experience and expertise in the financial industry, citing his numerous leadership roles regionally and within the organization. Young replaced Stephen Gordon, who resigned as CEO of NCB CM effective September 30th. Young started with NCB in 2014 when he assumed the role of CEO of NCB Merchant Bank, Trinidad, according to his LinkedIn profile. In 2018, he was also appointed Regional Head of Investment Banking at NCBCM and maintained dual roles until his appointment as Executive Vice President, Regional Investment Banking and New Markets in July of 2022. Before joining the NCB Group, Young worked at RBTT Merchant Bank as an Assistant Vice President of Capital Market Origination and as the Managing Director of BDO Financial Advisory Services. Young expressed enthusiasm about his new appointment, stating that he was eager to deliver on the company's commitment to empower its clients to unlock their financial aspirations. He goes on to talk about what he wants to do. Right. Let me see here. So they spoke about Mr. Young's wealth of experience and knowledge and all of these things, which qualifies him for the job, right? But when you go into the comments, the Headline Readers Association, also known as Party Group 2 of the UNC, came out in the numbers yesterday in the comments and had plenty to say, talking about nepotism and this PNM government again, and great is the PNM, and they couldn't find a black man. They're going to look for a Chinese, and it's only the 1%. Everything is for the 1%, and the East Indians and this and that, but they couldn't find a black man to put on the thing. And they're smelling nepotism and cronyism. They put something about the PNM supposed to be a black man party, and how come they do have? And I am saying to myself, and I had to hang my head in shame. Because it's not, if it was just 1, 2, 5, 10, maybe even 20 people saying that, I could say, okay, probably a faction of the Waterfront Ilk, also known as Party Group number 3 of the UNC. But it's a whole set of them going along the same trajectory. So it's as if they come into the comment. So they see the headline, wouldn't take the time to open the link and read the story to understand. Instead, they see a headline, so they start talking about how he looking like Stuart Young, so how he looking like, I find he looking like, and then they start with the nepotism and cronyism thing, and as a result of that, everybody else following suit, right? But if they had taken the time just to click on the link and open the story, they didn't even need to do that. Well, some of them needed to do that. Because this is not the first time we've heard the name Angus King. This is not the first time we've heard of NCBCM. We know what was happening recently with respect to the parent company in Jamaica, Michael Leachin, and so on. And I'm going through this and I'm saying, am I in the twilight zone? Because I can't believe you have so many people in this country don't know that, for those who may have been following the story. But you see, some people's mindset is such that they need to, every opportunity they get, they're so anti-PNM and anti-Rowley that any opportunity, that anything they see come up, that they figure, hey, this is another opportunity to attack this PNM, because all the other things we're attacking them on generally sticking. That NCB is a Jamaican company, a privately owned Jamaican company, and that owned by Jamaican billionaire Michael Leachin, owner of Portland Holdings, which is a Canadian company. So he's based in Canada, but he has significant holdings in Jamaican companies. In fact, he was one of the persons who was credited with turning around Jamaica's economic fortunes. So he owns a lot of stuff in Jamaica, particularly in the financial sector, right? He's also a majority shareholder in Guardian Group, on account of the fact that Arthur Lockjack would have sold his shareholding in Guardian Group to Mr. Leachin and his group, one through his personal shareholdings and also to a company that he had that also had shares in Guardian Group. So it has nothing to do with the government. Absolutely nothing. The government has no shareholding, as far as I know, in NCB. So this talk about nepotism and cronyism, and they couldn't find a black man, and the PNM, that's what the PNM is saying, they just only use their people and black people for votes. But when it comes time to appoint people, they don't. See, really? You know how many of them I had to go and reply and ask them what nonsense are they talking? Do a little bit of research before you come and make a fool. You come to comment on a public post. You don't know who's going to read that. So you have no qualms about demonstrating or highlighting the depth of your ignorance. I wouldn't make it worse than that. The depth of your ignorance, that you're so hating on the government that you will want to come and accuse the government of that for something the government have nothing to do with. And then when you challenge some of them, they want to carry on the argument and talk about, well, I don't expect you to understand why this is nepotism. No, and I said, well, please enlighten me. Enlighten me. Because if this was a state-owned bank, no problem. And they want to tell me, well, okay, the government, it was the decision of the Minister of Finance or the cabinet to decide who, and you put Angus Young. Okay, you could argue a case based on that. This is a private company. Private. Well, it's public from the perspective that you have shareholders and so on. But this has nothing to do with the government. But just because it's Angus Young, because it's Stuart Young, brother, 3/4 of them didn't even know who Angus Young was until Kamla Persad-Bissessar decided to let the country know who he is and to create Couture and Bacchanal where none exists, right? To make an insinuation that the reason why the government borrowing money from NCB is because Angus Young is Stuart Young's brother and he working there. Angus Young doesn't own NCB. He's not a majority shareholder in NCB. He is an employee, an executive, and a senior executive at that, right? And therefore, he has his job to do. So that when it is that the government is looking to borrow money and they put out RFPs and so on, a lot of people come and bid. The Minister of Finance went to great pains to make the point that I think within recent time, they have had no borrowings. They haven't borrowed any money from NCB. NCB may have raised a bond for them or so, as the case may be. But to come and make this insinuation, remember when she was making a big issue the other day about Guardian Group and so on, and Guardian Life, and she wondering if this is another Clico and all of that, and she wants the Minister of Finance to come clean, and she wants the central bank governor to come clean, and she wants Guardian Holdings to make a statement and all of that. She talked about it twice. She was so concerned. This was during the election campaign. So concerned that this could be another Clico, and we want to know if our policies are safe and if our money is safe. And then all of a sudden she stopped talking about that. So her concerns have subsided. Did the central bank governor make a statement as she wanted? The Minister of Finance came out and make a statement and rubbished what she said. Then even after that, she continued to post any article that come out in the Guardian or whoever speaking to that whole situation concerning NCB and Guardians and so on. She posted prominently on her Facebook page, right? Prominently on her Facebook page. Again, putting things out there and putting out press releases and expressing concern in an attempt to frighten people. Notwithstanding all of the, because you have persons within the office of the opposition leader who could have studied things like, go and look at Guardian Group's financials and understand the relationship between the two. That not because a company may be a subsidiary of another one means that if something is happening with one company, that automatically translates into that you're going to have a run on the other company. Let us not forget, CL Financial was the parent company for Republic Bank. They were holding the majority shares in Republic Bank. When CL Financial crashed and Clico crashed, did Republic Bank crash? But they were a subsidiary of the CL Financial Group. Today, Republic Bank remains the largest indigenous bank in this country, perhaps and arguably the largest bank in the country. They have holdings in not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but across the Caribbean and in Africa as well. And they continue to spread their wings. Look, it was just, I think I saw yesterday or day before an article in the newspaper where Guardian Group, Guardian Life has now entered the Antigua market. So they too continue to spread their wings across the Caribbean. So they're not just in Trinidad, they're in Jamaica, they're in Barbados, they're in Aruba. Where else? I know they're across. The intention really is to spread out across the Caribbean, right? So they've now gone into the Antigua market. I didn't see her post up that on her Facebook page. But any other article that came out with respect to Guardian Holdings in the last couple of months, you were happy to post it up because you perceived it to be negative and it was supporting your argument, right? Your nepotism and cronyism argument. But good stuff like that, that's not something for you to post up. Because if you were genuine in your concern, then when positive things come out like that, you would have no qualms about posting it up. Because you wanted reassurance from everybody that this is not a Clico part 2. You wanted that assurance. You see, but any negative thing that come out, you're happy to post that. But when the positives come out, no, you didn't see that. You missed that article clean. Yeah? Because your cataract tends to act up whenever there's anything positive about that situation. I'm waiting to see if on here, well, I haven't gone on her Facebook page to see if she posted up the article with Angus Young, but probably. Yeah? But just to point out to you that these people are not genuine and sincere when it comes to their concerns. Because if you had a genuine concern, a real concern, you would have continued to press the issue until you got the assurances that you were looking for. You didn't do that. But it was something convenient to talk about as part of the election campaign in an attempt to win votes without any care or regard for the negative impact that your bacchanal-laden speeches and your agenda could possibly have had on a significant financial institution in this country, and not just in Trinidad and Tobago, a regional company. Is that the actions of somebody who is deserving of being Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago again? Because I'm certain if she were Prime Minister and all that has transpired over the last couple of months with respect to NCBJ and all of that, she would have had nothing to say because there was no need to try and suck any political mileage out of that because she would have been the Prime Minister. They held her party in power. Right, we don't care. But we care when we're in opposition. Why? Because we're looking for political mileage. Now that the election is over, there's nothing to really get from that. So, whatever. I'm not bothering with that. It was just a convenient thing to talk about. But again, I just go back to the point of the comments. And now I understand why it is that evening program with Captain Clueless and his sidekick, Professor Misinformation, can have so much, well, they can't hold the numbers. They've been struggling for the few times that I went and I looked on Facebook. If they have 75 people, they have a lot. But I understand why it is when you listen to the contributions of some of the callers who call in to praise them for what it is that they are doing and tell them you're doing such a great job and thanks for the information and we need that out here. Yeah, you are like one caller likening Professor Misinformation as likening him to Jesus. Heavy boy, you come just like Jesus, boy, to me. Really? Lightning should have struck the two of you. Blasphemy for that foolishness. You likening this man unto Jesus for coming and talk nonsense. For the past 2 days, he had to come and apologize at the start of the program for misinformation. Because on Monday, after the budget, while the program was going on, he come to say that they increased the price of fuel because there was this propaganda document that originated from the bowels of the propaganda factory, also known as Party Group Number 4 of the UNC, right? That was going around, and somebody sent that to him. And rather than do your research, you jump out yourself. Yeah, you see, what? They increase the price of fuel by $1 again, boy. And your whole show based on that. Your whole show based on that. So whoever sent that information to you, they too, just like him, didn't see the need to listen to the budget. Why? Because we'll just go on Facebook and we'll look and see what it have there. So you come and you bring your propaganda, your lies and misinformation. But even up to yesterday, talking about, I like to educate and inform. Maybe you should buy a dictionary and see what is the definition of educate and inform. And then maybe you would stop saying that you come to educate and inform, because I don't know who you're educating, who you're informing. Miseducating and misinforming, that you could say that. But that does not constitute education and misinformation and education and information. Not by any stretch of the imagination. So twice, 2 days in a row, you had to come and apologize. And say, well, and rather than take personal responsibility, it's somebody sent me that information, and because you know this person to be somebody who is on the ball with the information and so on, that you trusted the information, and that is why you said it. And then it turns out that the information was incorrect. And even the person who sent it to you apologized for sending it, but they saw something circulated. They saw nothing. That's all they saw circulated. Wherever they get it, most likely Facebook, because that's where I saw it. And then somebody sent it out, perhaps in a WhatsApp group or whatever. But that is what they saw. They didn't see anything else. They only saw that. So many things the minister said, spoke for over 4 hours. They heard nothing else, saw nothing else. You know why? Because they sit down, some of them, sit down glued to the TV, the radio, waiting to hear, Madam Speaker, I propose to increase the price of super by such and the price of diesel by such. That's all I know. They're just waiting to hear that. So they could run on the radio and cuss him good, and run on the radio and cuss all away. That's what they waited. You know how much of them vexed that there wasn't an increase in the price of fuel? What are we going to talk about? What are we going to criticize the government for now for the next year? What evidence will we bring forward to say that the government don't like the poor people? They don't like the poor, and that they're only oppressing people in this country? What else are we going to do? We were hoping for that. They didn't hear that, so they vex. You mean this man make me sit down and listen to him for 4 hours, and the one thing I was hoping to hear, I didn't hear it. Oh boy, it's me. What we gonna do now? Let me go and create a couture. Since I didn't hear it and it didn't happen, I don't know what to do beside myself. You know what? Let me go and pull out a page from last year's budget that spoke to that increase and post it out on social media, because we need input to get costs. Because so far, after 3 hours, he ain't say nothing to get costs. 3.5 hours, he ain't say nothing to get costs. 4 hours and he wrapping up and he still ain't say nothing to get costs. So we need for him to, he can't finish the end of this day and he get costs. So let us create couture and bacchanal for you to get costs. And then you have to come back now like a fool with your tail between your legs, like a little loopy dog, to apologize. And then when it is people calling you to tell you, well, you know, this and that, but that isn't the only thing. You should be apologizing every single day. You need to start your program every day with an apology for everything you said the day before. Everything. That is how that program should go. I need to apologize for everything I said yesterday because it was untrue, it was rubbish. Right? And then proceed. Misinform. And then when you come the next day, I need to apologize for everything I said yesterday because it was trash. It was lies, untruth, propaganda. Every day you need to do that. Not just for the last 2 days for that single item. And when people want to call you now and call you out on your nonsense, Yeah, you know that already. And you're cutting off the people. No, take your licks. Take your licks because you were proud to spread the misinformation. Because any fool could have gone on the phone and fact check that in an instant and see that that did not happen. But you needed to push the propaganda and come. And yesterday, hear them. Well, we like to be balanced. And here they balance. They bring Anil Roberts apparently on Tuesday. They called him, they had an interview with him on Tuesday. So people, they get some licks for that. Because people saying, well, Anil is UNC and it. So he decided to bring a PNM yesterday. Yes. According to them, they wanted to balance it. So we bring a UNC on Tuesday. So we bring in a PNM on Wednesday. And who is the PNM they bring yesterday? Karen Nunes-Teixeira. Karen Nunes-Teixeira. Again. And after they did this, well, I'm going to touch on that. This interview with Ms. Nunes-Teixeira, or perhaps I should really call her by her real name, Nuisance Teixeira. After you had that interview, when they finish, hear them. Well, you know, we felt we needed to bring balance, so we brought Mrs. Teixeira. Couldn't find nobody else. Yeah? So they don't know, but we know people will come and say, oh, she's a disgruntled PNM, but she's still a PNM. No. You all didn't see, you all didn't hear that Karen Nunes-Teixeira resigned from the PNM about a week before the local government election. You didn't hear, you didn't read that she is now the deputy political leader of a party called Hope Less. You didn't hear that. But you come to educate and inform. Educate and inform. And I wonder how Mrs. Teixeira felt after you did this interview, which was for me a most cut-rate interview, right? The amount of falsehoods and misinformation that came out of this woman's mouth. I could not believe Karen Nunes-Teixeira was a former Minister of Finance. Couldn't believe it. And I don't know if it was fortuitous that I just happened to be in some serious traffic yesterday. And then, scrolling through radio stations, I just happened upon, I don't listen like many other people. The hundreds of people who used to listen to that program in that time slot, who used to listen to that station during that time slot when Aisha was there, like many of them, I too no longer listen. But it just so happens yesterday that I just happened on it, just as the interview was about to start. And I say, let me hear what she has to say. Well, boy, I tell you, Mr. Manning probably rolling in his grave right now. She always praising Mr. Manning. Mr. Manning should have jumped out the grave and let me not go there. Violence begets more violence. So let me leave that there. I would continue to Mr. Manning probably turning in his grave if he could have heard that interview yesterday from the woman he appointed as his Minister of Finance. Right? But they know. So I wonder how she felt. Because I'm sure she would have continued to listen to the program after she came off, to hear what people say, the people calling in to praise her and say what a wonderful job she did, and she was so erudite. And of course, the first couple callers did in fact call in and say, well, the first one said, I was never a fan of Karen Teixeira, but you see what she says, see how she talked there, and all them things that she tell us, and how she opened people's eyes here. Yeah, well done, job well done. The two of them were out of their depth with Teixeira yesterday. And as a result of that, she knew that. Because several times during that interview, they highlighted the depth of their stupidity, their ignorance, asking some of the most dotish questions, seeking to interject. There's a saying, it's better you keep quiet and let people think you're a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. And the whole time during that interview yesterday, every question, every time they sought to interject for clarification or to underscore what she said, it's like, I'm a fool. I'm a fool. I don't know what the hell I took. But because you interviewing her, she talking. And there is a total disconnect. Because you trying to translate, because you find she using some terms that might be a little high, and you realize the IQ level of your listeners, the IQ level of your loyal listeners is probably -5. So you realize you're now trying to translate. So when she says certain things and you want to break it down for the layman because you believe our listenership, that would have gone over their head. Yeah, that would have gone over their head. So let us try and translate for them. And then they translate. She only had to correct them. No, that's not. No, that's not. No. Let me clarify. So they're trying to clarify, and she had to clarify their clarification. And I just there laughing. Right. Totally out of the depth, Boy. That, if it wasn't so serious, it would have been comedic. And it was to an extent. It was. So they just shot them. They didn't just only shoot themselves in the foot with that interview. No, they shoot up their whole legs. Right now, they're double amputees, both of them. They shoot off from the hip. Their whole hip gone with that interview yesterday. She ran rings around them. They were in no position to question Karen Teixeira and the things that she was saying. A lot of the things that she was saying that was total nonsense, rubbish, misinformation. She came there yesterday to promote her new position, really. She didn't, I know I missed the first few minutes, so I don't know. Well, clearly she didn't say who she was or who she was representing. Because for them, after the interview, to see that she's a PNM, and people will say she's a disgruntled PNM, tells me. So apparently she avoided telling them her new position. But to be listening after you come and you yap for almost an hour, but talk the government, left, right, and center, right? These men still come and say you're a PNM. How you felt, Karen? She probably, after I say, but it's two idiots that just interview me. I didn't realize that. Had I been aware, I would have probably changed some of the things that I said and the way that I said it. Yeah, because, wow. But I crave your indulgence, ladies and gentlemen, to permit me to play some of what Mrs. Teixeira said yesterday, because I know a lot of you may not have heard it. So I want you to understand. They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Well, the amount of fury I heard yesterday, that had to be Lucifer's wife. Yeah? Lucifer's wife. She put the devil to shame yesterday. The devil may say, nah, boy. Karen, let me go and dust off. Let me dust off the throne next to me here again. I find the wife I'm looking for. You qualify on many levels. Yeah. The amount of, look. Give me 1 second. Let me just set up this. Hey boy. Take this off. Take this off. Come on, wait a minute now. That's not, folks. Let me just get this back here. Yeah. And it was so much trash I had to listen to it twice, I couldn't believe that what I heard yesterday came out of the mouth of a former minister of finance. Couldn't believe that. This woman couldn't find one thing positive to say, not just about the budget. She couldn't find one thing positive to say about the performance of this administration from the time they came in 2015 to yesterday. Not one thing Karen Teixeira could have find to say positive. And on the 1 or 2 occasions that she said she has to be fair to the government, she had to qualify it by saying, well, I have to be fair to the government, but not so much the government, but for Mr. Manning. Karen, apparently you didn't get a memo. Mr. Manning has been deceased for almost 8 years, Karen. All right? For the last 8 years, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago was Keith Rowley. Let's sort of through that because I don't know if it is just like with Monday night, you didn't take your meds before you went for the interview. It sounded like yesterday like you didn't take your meds either. Is it that you need your prescription refilled, Mrs. Teixeira? Anyway, you see, she could do that with them. It's only because I don't watch my, and I was so tempted yesterday to call in it, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't call in that program. Let me get this here. Right. Yes. Is this thing on? Right. Just give me 1 sec, folks. Let me just line this up here. 55. Right. Yes, Floyd, she's a heater. She don't like Dr. Rowley. Right. Let me just set this up. Get it. Forgive me, I know the past few days I've been playing stuff for y'all that really is an annoyance, but it has to be done. So, let me just get this here. Please, please, please play. I don't have time this morning. Set this up. Oh, come on, what's this thing doing now? TAC 686. Right. So now, folks, just now, give me 1 second there. Let me just get this. What is going on with this thing this morning?
Back into power.
Right. All right, let me try another device, folks. I don't know what's going on with this thing this morning. I really don't. Playing all whole morning and playing and all.
Share the live. Iowa TV on YouTube. The Street 919 FM on Facebook. The Street.
Interesting interview. I'm enjoying it so much information from Miss Nunez Teixeira. So much information. And what I enjoy about this interview, Mr. Teixeira, is that you can speak to the, I should say, well-educated, and then you can speak to the ground as well.
To the layman.
So
that's what we hope that I'm doing.
Yes.
So let me answer your question this way.
Go right ahead.
You asked me, what about the man in the street?
Yes.
I was in cabinet, and I understand for a politician, keeping power and retaining power is important for a number of reasons. One, they like the power, they like the blue light, because when you're no longer there, and if you like that and you lose it, it's almost it's an extreme change in your life.
Right.
But also too, a lot of parties, and I don't think, let us put it this way, are controlled by outside the cabinet. And they want a return on their investment.
Oh,
and the return on investment is that you make sure that you either do not implement, or you implement badly, or you take your time in implementing things that are supposed to be done to better the country, but in fact are not in their interest because it does not allow them to continue as they would like to continue.
Right.
So you have to understand that for government, one of the things important to them is not only wanting to go back into power, but they have their investors who are outside the cabinet who expect them to go back in because they want a return on investment they made in you. And perhaps you yourself have made an investment for which you cannot come to the people in account. So to answer your question as to is it the people's budget, it's clear based on what we said when we talk about revenue, which is the taxes that the government collects, and the expenditures, how much money they have to spend. There is even a larger difference between the revenue and the expenditure, creating an even bigger deficit than even last year. And what that is saying to you is that the government knows that it is clear the best predictor of future behavior is past relevant behavior. Since this government has come into power, every year you hear, first of all, they have never seemed to get the revenue numbers right. Okay, they're trying to predict. But one of the things they never seem to get the revenue numbers right. They have run fiscal deficits, which means they have expended much more than they have earned. And you cannot say that about Jamaica.
What is going on with this thing this morning?
Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, who went through the same COVID-19, who saw a significant drop in their revenues, and they were able to recover. And they depend on tourism, and they have to deal with climate change, which can affect people coming to their country.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I believe that the government, you calling it, he cares about its small man. He cared about its small man this year because it is my respectful opinion. One, all the promises they made to do what they said they were going to do have not materialized. They find reasons for not having it. I use the example, if you don't mind. A man who tells a woman he get married to her, but every year when they're about to get married, he tell her, you know, I have to go, and my aunt, my grandmother died in some way, in some form, and I have to go. Then the next 4 years, 5 years, after a while, tell him to take back his engagement ring because it's not going nowhere. It's time to change. Because like you're not serious. And I'm saying that because, let me use example. Some of them make property tax. That's not going whether we like it or not. That's not what I'm talking about. He said in 2015, 2016 is coming. It's not coming because you know what they're doing now? He now has to set an evaluation tribunal. And guess what? He's going to let the local government collect it, which means they have to set up the local government infrastructure. So they're not going to bring property tax, even though he said he will. The Revenue Authority totally stripped it of what it was intended to be. Take it outside of the government. So when people, so that you could deal with the drugs, that's what we were dealing with. The drugs, we're dealing with the money laundering, we're dealing with the issues that Board of Inland Revenue and Customs, which collect 95% of the revenue of the country, was a lot of corruption. And so we want to take them out of the Public Service Commission because, the security of tenure when you're working in the government. You might even get a big salary, but it's hard to fire you. What do they do with TTR? It's still not operational. But they've been taken to the Privy Council about who could stay and who can't. But also, they created an office which was never there before, a Deputy Director of Enforcement. And guess what? He's the only officer and his staff that is not being managed by the Revenue Authority, managed by Public Service Commission. Right. So the whole purpose of the Revenue Authority is being frustrated. It's still not operational after all these years. The Gambling Commission, up to now, they're saying they're still working on the regulation. I don't know what else they're working on, but it's not operational.
So in a nutshell, now these things are operating.
But they do not intend, this is what I'm trying to show you, that everything, and they're building an airport in Tobago.
That will happen, it cannot work.
Okay. They're building an airport in Tobago, where CSO statistics, if you go on for yourself, and I'm sure most of the tourists are Trinidadians coming from abroad, on average, you do not cross more than 290, 280 a year. That's the maximum. But they're building an airport for 3 million persons. Why? You have to ask yourself, why? What is the logic? Why are you building such a big airport? You have to ask yourself why. Then you have the property tax, the TTRA, the Gambling Commission, the National Statistical Institute. Remember that Gini coefficient, which will tell you how the income is distributed?
Yes.
That would come in. Up to now, they can't pass that. Up to now, and since they came into office, they're telling you they're going to pass that.
Wow.
So you have seen a government that has continuously not delivered on what it is supposed to deliver on. And I want to then turn to the most important thing, at least in terms of revenue for the country, and the growth. Let us look at the economy. Let us look at the facts. So what they want to paint this rosy picture.
Yes.
The World Bank and the IMF has said since 2015, and they show you the countries, all countries like St. Vincent and St. Lucia and Grenada ahead of us. Our economy has declined, has not grown by 20%. We're sliding down. We're not growing. We're not creating new avenues to earn foreign exchange. And as I speak about foreign exchange, when they in 2014 or 2015, they had $10-point-something billion in foreign exchange. Now it's 6.8, and the central bank said that in the last few months, 400 million was also depleted from the foreign exchange.
Wow.
If you have foreign exchange, you can't buy things. So I am cutting the credit card because people can't get cash. So the public bank say, we're cutting the amount that you could get on using your credit card because the government has to honor its credit card obligations internationally, else they will be in trouble. So you're seeing the credit card being cut. You hear the Minister of Finance indicating that he's also going to increase the custom duties or the courier.
I wish I could play the entire interview for you all, so you could hear everything that she said. I wish I could do that, because I need to rubbish everything that she said, and the best way to do that would be for you all to hear her say it herself, right? And the context in which she said it. It was a whole set of trash. And as I said, I could not believe that this is a former Minister of Finance that was talking here. So let me just address some of the things that she just mentioned there, right? She said that the government, since 2015, when they come in only making promises, and every year in the budget telling you they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and then they're not doing it. She spoke about the Revenue Authority, the property tax, that they keep promising that they're going to bring it and they have not done it, right? We all know the history, the story, the saga of the TTRA, since under Mr. Manning, since she was the Minister of Finance, right? So she would have had direct responsibility. She was intimately aware and she was intimately involved in the development of the TTRA in her capacity as Minister of Finance of the year 2007. We know the challenges that the TTRA the government has faced. Not just Dr. Rowley, as I said, Mr. Manning. When before that was one of the issues that they beat like a steel pan in 2010 for the PP to get into office, when Watson Duke was all over the place saying that if it is they implement the TTRA, that some 1,500 public servants going to lose their work, and that the PSA does not support the TTRA on that basis. I remember that back when he still had hair, right? And he still had some sense too, when his hair was black. Now with this, anyway, I digress. But we know, I don't know if it is Mrs. Shearer figured that she talking to she probably figured she was talking to the waterfront ilk. But there are others who listen, Mrs. Teixeira. So it's not, I don't know if they briefed you before and told you, well, here what you could say, whatever it is you want to say, because the listening audience, the IQ of the listening audience is -5 and worse than that. So you go ahead and say it, because they wouldn't understand what you're saying anyway. So you could bamboozle them and song bright. You know, you could try to be Mariano Brown, the female version of Mariano. But we know the issues with the TTRA. The UNC refused to give their votes for the TTRA. They have in numerous occasions that if they come back into office in 2020, one of the first things they're going to do is to abolish the TTRA. They said if they come into office in 2025, they're going to abolish the TTRA. So for her to come and say this and totally ignore the pushback that the government has had, the pushback that she knows she experienced when she was Minister of Finance, that at every turn, when this administration tries to implement this TTRA, up come the UNC. If it is, they're not running to court. If it's not Watson Duke, Leroy Baptiste, whoever. But you expect the government. She's saying that, they totally gutted it and so on. The government had to take out certain things, right? Take out certain things in an attempt to get the law passed, to get the Revenue Authority up and running. Because if you can't get support of the opposition and the law as is, with certain provisions requires the support of the opposition, then we have no choice but to take out those provisions that require the support of the opposition so we can pass the law on our own with our limited support. This is why we continue to tell people, when you're telling yourself, well, yeah, once the PNM, when if they get 22 seats, once they're in power. No, it just simply getting 22 seats or 23 seats is not sufficient. The government needs a majority, as the UNC had in 2010 to 2015, and 29 seats, therefore, where they could do things. So that if the opposition decides to be recalcitrant, if they decide to be obstinate, you could do your thing. Now, there are certain dangers, and therefore it's only certain governments and certain parties should have that kind of control and that type of majority. Governments that can be trusted, and I know that people who are vexed us, but that is all your business. And governments who are responsible to be able to use that. But this woman who just up until about 2 months ago was PNM, coming out to tell you, in the past 8 years she could find nothing good to say about what the government did, right? She talked about the property tax. Another one that the UNC has, for the past 8 years, they continue to jam. They're not supporting it. No property tax. Must ask the tax. 2014, they saw the need to bring it back. No mention of that. Totally no mention of the opposition and the challenges that the government has faced in the last 8 years coming from the official opposition. And the reasons why they have had to do certain things with certain pieces of legislation in order to get it passed, rather than they just leave it on a shelf, which they could have. Because if it is that the government, as she claims, right, gotten the legislation and taken out this and taken out that, because they really don't want to pass it, well, then all the government could have simply do, well, okay, the Revenue Authority, leave it on the shelf. We need the UNC support, and the UNC refused to give us the support, so that's good for us. If, as she says, the government don't want to bring this thing, they're only mama guy in the people, and they're never going to bring it, and they don't want to bring it, well, then they could have simply used the UNC as the excuse and say, well, we tried to enact that legislation, but we couldn't get the support of the opposition, so that legislation is dead in the water, and put all the blame on the UNC. But notwithstanding that, they have still tried to bring it. They came first with exactly what it was, because Dr. Rowley was part of the administration that created the initial iteration of that bill. The cabinet of which she was a part, the cabinet in which she was the Minister of Finance, Dr. Rowley was a part of that too. It seems like she forgets. There are other members of the current government, current administration, who are also part of that cabinet as well. So they had no issues then with what the Revenue Authority bill had in it. But she wanted to tell you today they have a problem with it. And come in and talk nonsense about your legacy when you have your financiers and they had to get payback and so on. So you're not going to enact legislation because it's not to the benefit of your financiers and the 1% that they like to see. Well, if that was the case, Karen, if that was the case, and that was the MO, the modus operandi of this administration, you see that thing they call government campus? It would have still been an empty shell. Karen, it would still have been an empty shell, because the decision by the Keith Rowley administration, as I've spoken of before, to outfit that building or those buildings, that government campus, one of the first things that Dr. Rowley did in coming into office, that singular decision took hundreds of millions of dollars out of the pockets of the so-called 1%. All those buildings around town that are today vacant, that have signs for rent, for sale, that between 2010 up until 2015, and for a small part of 2016, were being occupied by state agencies, by ministries and departments of ministries that are today empty and are now housed in the government campus. If it is Keith Rowley was taking instructions from the 1%, and Keith Rowley was seeking to pay back the financiers for the money that they put out for election time, government campus would have, the only thing you would have inside there would have been spiders, ants, flies, dust. There would have been no people, no furniture, nothing of the sort. Because millions of dollars today, I continue to make the point, that building at the bottom of Abercrombie Street, Nicholas Court, that blue glass building at the corner of Abercrombie Street and Independence Square that for years housed customs. Today, it is empty. It has been empty for the last 7 years or so since customs moved out and are now occupying their own building on Ajax Street. Thanks to who? Keith Rowley and the PNM, who were able to outfit that building with less money than the PP had between 2010 to 2015. The same condition that Dr. Rowley met it in when he came in 2015 is the same condition the PP met it in. It was complete. You just needed to outfit it. Right? And probably some minor things to do with respect to completing the construction. For 5 years, they sit on it. For 5 years, they did nothing. They left the building there as a monument of PNM wastage. And I verily believe that if they had gotten another 5 years, it would have still be empty. So they could say, you see, watch how Manning waste money. But a few months before the election, they come saying, well, we're going out to tender. Right? We're going out to tender to outfit government campus. 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Well, you couldn't do that. You had all the money, highest energy revenues in the country history. You couldn't outfit it. But Keith Rowley came in and with far less energy revenues was able to outfit, complete, and move all of those ministries. No longer is that building on Frederick Street, Upper Frederick Street after Tiantec, that for years was occupied by immigration. That's where you had to go and line up on the pavement, past St. Mary's College, almost up to the corner by Spiriton House, yeah, and around the block, looking like Marley Street when Trini's looking to go and get a visa. That building boarded up. empty, no occupancy, no income. No income coming out of that. Since immigration moved out and gone down to the old building at the bottom of Richmond Street, part of government campus, whoever owned that building, no money. No money, but she wanted to tell you that the reason why they're not implementing things is because they had to pay back the financiers. Really, Karen? Again, as a former Minister of Finance, she should hold her head in shame to say, because the challenges, and she would have known what are the challenges. She's talking about the government every year they allocating money for this and money for that, and they have, because as I said, I would have loved to play the entire interview for you all today. That they allocating money, but it's a matter of accountability. So earlier on in the interview, Professor Misinformation asked her, but Mrs. Teixeira, every year you hear how much billions and how much millions allocated to this ministry and that ministry, and then, but when it's nothing in place and all of that. And she comes to say, well, that is a function of leadership. It is a reflection on the leadership. Because since 2015, and I've gone back and pulled all of the budget statements from since 2015, she didn't see the need to pull budget statements from 2010 to 2015. But from 2015, the budget of 2015, September 2015, come forward, she only interested in those. And I said there were so many projects that the government articulated and they put aside money for, and it was never implemented. And they have a social contract with the population, and they need to come every year and say why it is this wasn't implemented and why that wasn't implemented. And they come and they tell you, well, we're going to build 5 schools and we're going to build roads and so on, and it will be completed in 2022. And then in 2023, they come back and tell you, well, it's not finished yet, it will finish in 2025. And they need to explain and tell us why it is. And again, as a Minister of Finance, Karen Nunes Teixeira ought to know, and I would ask her, when she was Minister of Finance, for the 2 years and some that she was there, how many times did she allocate money for projects based on the submissions of various ministries, and these projects did not take place in the year for which the money was allocated? And it had nothing to do with any kind of sinister motive on the part of the government, but it had to do with issues that were outside of the government's control. Case in point, last year, December, when it is that the Comptroller of Customs came before the Joint Select Committee on National Security and was asked about the scanners on the port, and she indicated that since 2021, the Ministry of Finance allocated $91 million to purchase scanners. But the issue had been with the Central Tenders Board, that the customs had approached the Central Tenders Board because there's a process that you have to go through. It's not that the ministry allocate money. So Ministry of Works and Transport or whoever, well, in this case it's finance. And she should know that. It's finance. Allocate money to an entity that falls under them. That is the extent of the minister's work, to allocate the money. But what happens after that? There is a process you have to go through with respect to procurement. So it's not just the minister say, all right, customs, $91 million to buy scanners. Comptroller, just go up on Amazon there and buy 4 scanners there. Or go down by Massey and buy 4 scanners. Or call Massey or call Ansa Makal and order 4 scanners. That's how it is work. Totally bypass the procurement aspect of things, which could take months, because when the Central Tenders Board have a whole set of government projects that they have to review, put out RFPs and all of these things. So that is what the Comptroller of Customs said, that since 2021 money is allocated by the ministry, but the problem is we waiting on Central Tenders Board to do their part so we could proceed in order to get bids, and then we could assess the bids and be able. The budget on Monday, the minister announced that a contract had finally been signed and awarded for the purchase of 4 scanners to be able to scan all of these large containers. 4 at a cost of $90 million. Nobody here talk about that? All the time they're singing a song. The scanners, a set of guns coming through the legal ports of entry, and none of the scanners are working, and the scanners don't, and this government this and this government that. And the reason why they're not buying the scanners is because they want the drugs and the money to come and the guns to come in. But the minister announced, contract awarded. So we've gone past the procurement. We've gone past we've assessed the tenders. We've identified our vendor. We've met with them, hammered out the contract. It has been signed. So now it's just for the vendor, for the contractor now to do their part and have bring in these scanners, whether it is to create new ones, whatever. Bring it in. You ain't hear nobody talking about that, All the usual suspects who had plenty to say about the lack of scanners. Where Giant T? Where Anil Roberts? Always doing Doubles and Coffee and Douglas Politics are waiting to see if he will do a live to say, well done, Colman Birch. Well done, Keith Rowley. You feel they will do that? But they're concerned about the well-being of the country. But an issue that you all have been highlighting for years, for months. Now, finally, a resolution has come to it. And brand new scanners will be coming on the port. Where Munilad? He too had plenty to say about the scanners on the port. All of them sit down in the parliament and heard the minister say that. But like that passed. So as soon as he said that, cataracts in the ears, the glaucoma in the ears turn on. And when he finished say that, turn off. So they didn't hear that part. I'm waiting to see and to hear tomorrow what the misleader has to say, if she will make any mention of that. Probably will not. And if she does, well, it'll be in some negative light. Wait for country. So coming back to Madam Teixeira, and she's talking about Jamaica. Jamaica had COVID too, and Barbados had COVID too, and their economies have come roaring back and whatnot and all of that. And how come? And their economies are dependent on tourism. Mrs. Teixeira, you're very disingenuous and you're very dishonest. Very much so. Because anybody, without even going to Google, the average, well, maybe not the average citizen, but those of us who actually take an active interest in economic matters and so on, matters of finance and the like, and even if you don't, just people who listen to the television, who scrolling through social media and so would know that the Jamaican economy is not just about tourism. Yes, tourism is a significant part, but Jamaica is one of the largest exporters of aluminum and bauxite. Yeah? Aluminum and bauxite. She wouldn't talk about that. Wood, coffee, all of these different things. But she come to tell you, their economy is based on tourism. Well, even if you want to make that case, Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa, I will put it out to you. You know what Jamaica have and what Barbados have that we don't? Sandals. Sandals does their own marketing because they know if they have a brand, they have hotels, they have resorts, and in order for them to make money, people need to come to the resorts. There's no sense in having a resort and it empty. Sandals does extensive marketing wherever they have their resorts because they want the people to come. So they're not depending on the government of the country to do branding and to do marketing. Yes, they would benefit from that too. But they going out there, you sit down and you watching cable TV, you watching MSNBC, CNN, and you seeing Sandals advertisements. Sandals advertising internationally. So when it is 335 million people in the United States, right? And a particular network, a particular program, 4, 5, 10 million people viewing, all of them seeing this Sandals advertisement. And this is just in the US market. When they're advertising in the UK and Europe, so that people will come during the winter season when they're trying to run from the snow and they're looking for sun, sea, and sand. Sandals has everything that you need, all inclusive. You don't have to worry up your head. Just go, pull up our site, our website, put in your information and do what it is that you have to do. And come on down, man. You don't want to go to Jamaica, you're concerned with have crime, well, okay. You could go to St. Vincent, you could go to St. Lucia, you could go to Turks and Caicos. Now you can't go to Trinidad. You can't go to Tobago, it's turn on there. Right? Turn on there. So if you're looking, you heard about Trinidad and Tobago, and you decide you want to come for Carnival, but you want to stay at Sandals, oh sorry, there's no Sandals there. Once upon a time, there was a hope and a dream for Sandals, thanks to Keith Rowley, but that was done away with, and we don't know if we will ever get one. So forget that. So when they're advertising, they will never see Sandals Tobago. She ain't gonna talk about that. No, Karen ain't talking about that. She wouldn't tell it. Them things. But want to criticize the government, in the back pocket of the 1%. Very, very disingenuous, very dishonest. And this is a former minister. And this is somebody who is the deputy political leader of a new party that hopes in 2025, that you will give them your vote so that somebody like her could once again be a minister in this country, perhaps the Minister of Finance. She talks about, earlier on in the interview, GDP per capita. She says this is something that sounds so nice. And she wants to give you a definition of GDP, right? The gross domestic product, which is the total value of goods and services produced within the domestic borders of Trinidad and Tobago financially and so on. And then they divide that by the number of persons in the population. It's looking nice, 25,000 US per person and all of that. But that is misleading and so on, because there is a particular document that gives you the breakdown and shows you which sectors of society gets the most of that money. And that document has not been published since 1990. Since 1990, it has not been published. Well, I want to tell Karen, last I checked, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010 came after 1990, Karen. You should be ashamed, since you want to make that a public issue. You should be ashamed to say that the last time that was published was in 1990. You should be ashamed that you couldn't say the last time that was published was in 2007, 2008, 2009, when I was the Minister of Finance. You had no issue then, in those years, with it not being published since 1990. What efforts did you undertake, Mrs. Teixeira, to have it published in 2007, 2008, 2009? It wasn't an issue then. You didn't see the need to publish it then. But today, oh, they're seeing the need for it. Right? And that's this government's responsibility. Blame this government that it hasn't been published since 1990. So there were no other governments between 1990 and now. There was no other party in power. It was only the PNM. So blame the PNM for that. Apparently, Keith Rowley was Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago from since 1990 to 2023. That's why it wasn't published. But she put that out there. And Captain Clueless and Professor Misinformation said on them, wow, oh good. Nah, boy, wow. And she patted herself on the chest. Oh, I'm doing a good job, boy. I have them wowed. As I say, if you can wow them with brilliance, dazzle them with BS. And that's exactly what it has happened yesterday. There were so many other things that she said that needs to be rubbished. She have all these statistics. She could quote figures and tell you when Dr. Rowley said this and the month that he said it and the year that he said it. The only thing she didn't tell you was the exact time, 6:15 and 20 seconds. But everything else she know, and exactly what she could quote him verbatim. But when it came to the issue of talk about the Laurent Manatee field, and why it is that didn't go to here. Well, you know, she talked about the shortage of gas. And she says, they know that they can't, they wouldn't be able, even with these small fields and so on, they wouldn't be able to get the amount of gas. And they were hitching their wagon to the Laurent Manatee field. And they signed an agreement with Venezuela. But for some reason, but for whatever reason, they didn't go through with the joint arrangement. And so they decided that Trinidad would go ahead and do their side separately. For whatever reason. This is the woman who I just tell you quoting verse and scripture, right? Could tell you exact date, quoting people verbatim, but she can't remember the reason why the Laurent Manatee arrangement between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago didn't go through. She can't remember it was because of the US sanctions. The same issue that held back the Dragon gas field from since 2018 when the government had signed an agreement with Venezuela. She can't remember that. For some reason or for whatever reason. And we stupid. She can't talk about that. Because if I say it's because of the sanctions. However, look, because I'm just telling you, this government keep promising every year that we're going and do this and we're going and do that, and then they're not doing it. So it has nothing to do with all of these situations that is outside of the government's control. She must know if the government says we're going to build schools and money is allocated to the ministry. It's not that whoever is the Minister of Education, Nian Gatsby Dolly, don't say, well, all right, where we building the school? This is the site, right? We go in on the site and she jump, she dance, she do a dirty wine, right? She clap twice, she sing a song, and boom, a school appears. Apparently that's how it has happened. You don't have to go through the tender process. You don't have to identify a contractor, and the contractor has to mobilize and all of these different things. So, and apparently you could build a school in 1 year. You could build a whole secondary school in 1 year. That's how it has happened. So the minister just announced in the budget, we allocate X amount of money to build a school so and so place. All right. So as soon as the budget passed, the next day, they start to build. According to Karen, that apparently, if you read the gospel, according to Karen, that is how it works. So every project, anything that the government articulates that doesn't happen is a reflection of Dr. Rowley's leadership and his poor leadership that they keep coming back and promising. But she wouldn't tell you. How much years under the PP between 2010 and 2015 they were promising us for almost 3-4 years they would have built the Curep interchange. Remember that? All the bacchanal that was involved with respect to the issue of their water contract where they wanted to give it to a man who didn't even know how to build a culvert, who couldn't even build a pavement, and they wanted to give the contract. All of the bacchanal with respect to concerns on the board of NIDCO that the minister was trying to interfere and to bid rig. Forget all of that. This Keith Rowley administration came in, and with less money than the PP, in the space of less than about 15 months or so or less, they were able to build, to start and finish the Curep interchange. But she wanted to listen to the government come in, they want to make promises and all of that. The Diego Martin interchange, that is almost complete. She don't know about that. The Carenage police station, she don't know about that. I think she living in the West. She lives St. Anne's or somewhere there. Even that, the works that they did by the roundabout by St. Anne's there. Yeah? The Diego Martin Health Center, she don't know about that. No, they didn't do that. That is a figment of our imagination, apparently. The Diego Martin sports complex, the swimming pool in Diego Martin, the regional, the administrative complex for the Diego Martin Borough Corporation, all of that. Those things are figments of our imagination. They didn't do that. They didn't finish almost finished the highway to Point Fortin. The highway from Valencia to Toco, the first phase that is completed, that too is a figment of our imagination. Because if you're listening to Mr. Shera yesterday, you'll get the distinct impression that there's nothing that this government has done in the last 8 years. None of the projects that they articulated, they've completed. No, nothing happening. And swimming pool in Morva, swimming pool in Laventille, the swimming pool in Maloney, and the swimming pool in Malabar, that I think is supposed to be commissioned in the next month or two. All of these things are figments of our imagination. The Malabar wastewater treatment plant, all of the HDC housing units, River Run Through, Carina Gardens, formerly known as River Run Through, all of the housing units in the Poyo Court that was left abandoned by the PP, that the PNM came in, and not only did they finish, they add more units, figments of our imagination, right? Terrestrial lands, all of the houses inside there that were built in the last 8 years, when Munilal told us when they were about to demit office, yeah, we have about 1,200 houses and so on ready for occupation. And as I always say, the media went to see these houses and all they found was a load of gravel, a load of sand, tobacco, and a trail of ants, bachak. So apparently it was built for bachak and ants, not house for human habitation. Today, go to terrestrial lands and see how many houses it have inside it. Again, figments of our imagination. She talked about the airport in Tobago. Why the CSO statistics is about 290 persons who come to Tobago for the year. Why would they need to build such a large airport? For what purpose? Dominica just built an airport. Or is it the process of building an airport that cost them over $1 billion? Dominica. You know what's the population of Dominica? About 75,000 people. But they're building $1 billion airport. That they say, when you do your research, you will see that they expect that airport is going to have a direct impact on the economy more, because they can now accommodate more people. Even Farley Augustine had to make the point that one of the issues for those of us, I'm sure many of you here have gone to Tobago via airplane, and you would see the airport is not a large airport. It is not. When it is that you're there and the British Airways plane, the big plane, is out on the tarmac. It's taking up most of the bloody tarmac. So it's only so many planes you can accommodate. And I made the point that Farley too would have admitted that one of the issues facing Tobago with respect to the amount of foreigners and tourists coming to Tobago is the issue of airlift. You don't have enough international airlines coming because the current airport cannot accommodate. You feel that airport could accommodate 2 and 3 planes the size of the British Airways plane? Wait. If it is that they accommodate 3 of that, Caribbean Airlines cannot go to Tobago. For that whole day, no other planes could go there. So all flights to Tobago from Trinidad had to shut down because it had no space on that tarmac for all of those planes. So they needed to expand the airport to create a bigger airport, a more modern airport, so that you could now say to other airlines, international airlines, well, look, we now have the space to accommodate you all. So instead of on any given day with the current size of the airport, we could only accommodate Virgin Atlantic, if they still come, and British Airways, and that's it. Airport, everything after that party done. We have no more space. We don't have a much larger airport, so we could invite Condor and whoever else and all of these bigger airlines. You could come to Tobago now. Yes, we have the space to accommodate you. We have an airport to accommodate you. We have those facilities. This was one of the complaints of the different airlines. The airport in Tobago was not big enough. But it's also an issue of marketing. So she's saying, well, don't build a bigger airport because there's nothing that you could do to encourage more tourists to come to Tobago, apparently. This is a former Minister of Finance saying that, you know. There's no need to build a bigger airport because only about 280 and 290 is the max amount of tourists that come in. So there's nothing in the world that we could do to get more than 290. But Barbados, with a population of 285,000 people, they love to boast how much people go in Barbados. And the amount of people going to Barbados, tourists, is more than coming to Trinidad. How big? You see Barbados airport too? I'm sure Karen has been to Barbados. And this is the thinking of somebody who wants to be a minister of government in this country again. And that is her logic. There is no need to build a bigger airport because according to CSO statistics, well, maybe Karen, if Sandals was here, instead of 280 and 290, we might have about 400,000 coming. Karen. Let us not underscore the work that is being done by Invest TT and Tourism TT and so on. They're going out there. You forget Karen, Fali and Tashia and the rest of them who always flying all over the world, say they sell in Tobago. You forget Watson went all the way to Dubai to do a presentation, to pull out $100 bill to show the people of Dubai and the world. You see, look how nice Trinidad and Tobago $100 bill is. And to tell them that Tobago is 300 square miles. And we want all it to come to Tobago. So basically, you're telling Fali, you're wasting money. You see all that money you're spending, they say you're going Europe and you're going to the US and wherever in the Middle East and all of that, you're trying to get investment into Tobago and you're trying to build the brand Tobago. So more tourists will come. Don't do that. No, don't do that. Because you could only get 280 and 290. This was the former Minister of Finance. No wonder she said, when she was appointed Minister of Finance, I'm an attorney at law. I know nothing about finance, so I'm going to have to depend on the technocrats in the ministry to guide me. Today, kill her dead. She knows everything that there is to know about finance. There are nobody like she. She's the GOAT, the greatest of all times. She's the best person to go to. So in other words, media, anytime I want to get any information, because I write articles in the newspaper criticizing the government. I see no good that this government has done, and Rowley must go. That's how we are saying Rowley must go and the PNM must go. And put who? Hope less? With people like you at the helm of Hope less? Get real. Karen T-Shara. Get real. And that's why, for folks, as I said, I can't play the whole interview because it's about an hour or so. So if you care to hear what she said, the rest of what she said, I'll probably address some more of it on Sunday because I really wanted to speak about the budget today. But when I heard that trash yesterday, I said, nah. Right? You could just go back on Facebook, pull up that show from yesterday, and you could listen to it if you care to. And listen to all of the trash that this woman says. And who wants it? Anyway. I can't take people like them seriously, you know. But you have people after them to praising her for that. Praising her for that, you know. And like she told feelings because when she did the interview the other day to talk about the Dragon Gas, and she has, none of us have seen the agreement, save and except for Stuart Young, the Ministry of Energy officials and the officials from Venezuela. Nobody else has seen it. But she knows in that agreement that they allow that one of the conditions or the concessions is that Venezuelans could just come to Trinidad as they please. In droves. They just come. That's what she said. Ask her for the proof. She ain't had that. But she knows that. Right? She knows that. And she vexed with Stuart Young for taking her to task over those things. And I want to cite some interview that Stuart Young did on CNN. You know the date, you know the time, and who the moderator was. But you can't remember the reason why the Laura and Manatee Field agreement didn't go through. And why it is the government decided to go with their side, Manatee, by themselves. You can't remember that. But you could remember everything else. 7:52. There's a lot more I could say about that interview yesterday. I'll save it for, maybe I'll touch on Sunday. Save it for another time. Because I have stuff to do today and I really can't go till Thy Kingdom come. So, Jenny Coleman, just we touch on this issue with Helen. Helen Ross says, spare us on Sunday. All right, Helen. All right. I would play it. I would suffer you to have to listen to Karen. I will listen to it again. I will take notes and we will take it from there. Apologies. Let's know. Well, let me set up this thing here. Just give me 1 sec. Hold on. So this on. 1 sec. Hold on, Nigel. Just we just connect this thing here. This thing on? Yeah, it's on. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir, morning.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes.
I have 2 things to say this morning. The first thing is, it is not surprising that all of those who may have fallen out with Dr. Rowley and his administration have formed themselves into the club of losers. The club of losers. Denise Deming.
Yes.
Was part of the tourism authority or the tourist board when PNM got into power in 2015. And because of some kind of personal behavior inside there, she was summarily fired by Shamfa Kojo, who was then the Minister of Tourism. She was fired summarily, and since then, she told him. Since then, she has had a beef. You read all of her letters. They have all been of one basis, attacking Dr. Rowley personally.
Yes.
Just like all the other wretches, like Ralph Maraj and all of them, and Mariano Brown. It is sickening. And secondly, that pulling together of a panel on TV6 Monday night, it was sickening and pathetic, to say the least. I mean, you have people like Fali Augustine to get the Tobago input, which would be full of bias anyway. You have Teixeira, okay? You have Teixeira and you have others. And you have a re-energized and regurgitated and exhumed Fali, what's his name? Fazil Mohammed, who was fired some months ago, replaced with Marlon Hopkinson. Isn't it significant that on a night like tonight, the night of the budget, that they should re-energize him, bring him back like Jack Frost, Burl Ives, gray all over, not looking at personalized, but they deliberately brought him in an act of provocation and antagonism. They knew why they didn't bring Marlon Hopkinson. He's a calmer personality, he's more balanced, he's more sober, he's more inclusive. They knew specifically why they brought back Fazil Mohammed. It was to deliver an unprovoked, nasty attack on the PNM representatives on that panel. It was deliberately put there. They deliberately brought him. How come out of the woodwork, suddenly, Fali, what's his name? Fazil Mohammed resurfaces. Why not Marlon Hopkinson?
Yes.
Why not? It is more than passing strange that this should happen. And finally, Nunes Teixeira. As a little boy growing up, I don't know if you know a book called Student's Companion.
Yes.
They used to have word opposites. They used to have synonyms, homonyms, and antonyms. And when I think of Karen Nunes Teixeira, there is one synonym that I could think about. Karen Nunes Teixeira -- synonym Clico.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Romeo.
Thank you, sir. And I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Yates, with respect to Fazil looked like a corpse. And I think TV6 in recognizing that, look, we have all the other stations have panels, you have radio and television, and we want to be on top, so let's bring Fazil to spice up the thing with the nastiness. So that's what Fazil do, and then you tag Karen, and then she jump in with her foolishness, and I don't know. Hello, good morning. Let's see here, connect this. Hello, good morning.
Hi, morning.
Morning.
Hi, morning to all those who are tuning to facts or stubborn things.
Yes.
All I will say about Karen, Sarah, she's somebody who's sweet. I just, that's her opinion I'm giving, and she's lashing out and she doesn't understand. She's digging such a pit for herself that people are seeing her for who she is, and it doesn't look good. I see the interview with Fazil Mohammed, and the way I see he was like almost attacking Minister Faris Alwari. I want to ask a question. Does he have a personal against the minister? Because I knew the minister a while back would have brought a whole genealogy chart to show that he's a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. And that he can actually write from right to left. I don't know. I know that Mr. Muhammad is also, Fazil Muhammad is a Muslim also, so I don't know if that may have some type of contention with that. Because in the community, the Indian community especially, there's a lot of colorism, classism, and that kind of thing. So I don't know, that might be a part of it.
Yes.
A cultural thing or a religious thing. However, I hope that whatever issues that Mr. Fazil Mohammed has, that he would set out in peace. My thing, well, you would have heard Leroy Batiste yesterday, I suppose.
No, I didn't hear him.
So he called in on I-95.5, and I'm going to paraphrase what he says, because like David Abdullah and all those other persons, when they speak, the people on the ground sometimes don't necessarily understand because they use all these big terms and phrases and stuff. So I like to make things simple, not saying that the ground choke, not intelligent. However, we speak differently. Leroy Batiste is saying he is not accepting the 4% for he members. He is very specific in saying his members. Now remember, the PSA, when they negotiate for their members, is the whole of the public service who are not their members affected, right? PSA probably have about 9,000 members now. Is it those are the members he's speaking about, or is it the members of WASCA he's speaking about? And he all went on to speak about the fact that if we get that money and spend it for Christmas, that basically we say the only people will profit is the businessmen. But I know if you take your money and you go and spend for service, no matter what the service is, you getting back something. So you can't tell people the reason why you are settling for the 4% because the money is small, and even if they get it, it's around Christmas time, and the only people will benefit is the business people. Because then that makes no sense. Because when he buys his lunch every day, it is alleged it's $500. Who is profiting from that? Not the same business people. When he driving along in the Range Rover and they was driving along in the Mercedes-Benz and the BMW, who was profiting from that? Wasn't it also the business people? When he goes to the grocery or buys anything with his money he gets in, they say his salary is $50,000. Who does benefit? It don't be the public officers benefited. It does be he and the business people. So how dare Leroy Batiste tell us? I ain't talking about the PSA members now. I talking about the members of the public service who are not members of the PSA. Because I saw a report by Dr. Terence Farrell in 2021 and estimated that the public service has about 90,000 public officers. And them 90,000 is not PSA members. So I'm talking to the people out there, the public officers who are not PSA members. Do you all understand the ramification of him, Leroy Baptiste, making a decision to not accept the 4% because the money go be small and only all get for Christmas and only go spend it and all kind of thing. And it's only the business people who will profit. So he making that decision for it. Not only that, he spoke about our matter being before the special tribunal, say fighting it. He's very disingenuous. Because our matter to be heard in the High Court for judicial review of a rule in the Civil Service Act, which has nothing to do with the 4%, is going to be the hearing coming up in January. So it means whatever before the special tribunal, the law will fit is in abeyance, meaning it's right there, it's rest down right there. So PSA is not going before the special tribunal to fight for nothing. That rests down there until they go to the High Courts in January. And when they go to the High Courts, matters don't start the same day. You have to set up hearings. And we know the court system in this country. You could get your first hearing December next year, because I'll tell you what, I have a matter in the industrial court from since last year, and I get a date this year. So we have to sit down, the public officers who don't pay no money in PSA, who drop out PSA, who don't want to be a part of PSA, have to sit down and wait until whenever the matter is heard in the High Court. And then we may never go back before the CPO like PSA until 2026. And all who is not members of PSA, who's public officers, all you have to sit down and the grind by me. I tell you all something. All there's more people out there that have members of the PSA in the PSA. And he can dictate for all you in these circumstances where all they getting money. And he saying all you mustn't get that money. That's basically what he's saying. So when all you see all the other co-workers, the 37,000 of them in the public sector, going and spend the money however they want to spend it, whether it's man, woman, song, dance, the children, the house, whatever it is, it's their money to spend. All you who don't pay PSA no money, all there's no members, all they have nothing to get because Leroy Baptiste, who's sitting now on his salaries are like $50,000 a month, driving the best car in PSA, eating the best. Just recently, all them was at Brooks Hotel, then was in Cape Park Hotel. He is telling me, and I'm sure he must be living in a gated community, I don't know, telling me the little money that the government put aside, the $1 billion, oh, I don't take that Christmas gimmick thing and only go and spend that and it's only business people go profit. That is what he's doing to all you. So we are talking to PSA members because PSA members, I just love it so. When I talk, they have a problem with me. So we are talking to them. Oh, I'm a PSA member. I have nothing to say with them. Them happy. I'm talking about the 60,000, 70,000 members who are not PSA members. I'm talking to them this morning. So they will be dictated like that. And all Leroy Baptiste has to do, go to the CPO, settle the matter, withdraw from the High Courts. I want to know if all will sit down knowing that it's the simplest thing he has to do. Or they will allow him to take all your case. When it is alleged, he is going for, he won the post, or he was offered the post alleged, a Minister of Labour. So he going the long game, you know. He playing for the long game, if that is true, for 2025 election, you know. So let the 90, 60 something, 70 something public officers who is not members of PSA, let them suffer. Let them suffer and they go get vexed and then go vote for the PLM 2025. UNC go come back and go Minister of Labour. And it's easy to settle right now. We already agree. 4% is not enough. Me going through that. It is there. They have no data. PSA has no data to show the government could pay more than the 4% when it was back in them days. Because people feel because the country have money now, they can take that to pay for them time in the past. No, that's not how negotiations for salaries is. You negotiate the economic environment. You can use this time for that time. What we have to do, this time when we're going to negotiate for 2021 and 22, that we use that as a gauge for the percentage because the country doing better. But we cannot do that if Leroy Baptiste continues with this matter in the courts, because we will miss out on 2020, 21, and 22, and also miss out on 23, 24, and 25. So public officers who are not PSA members, that is where Leroy Baptiste has all here. Those 70 PSA members are getting like them lost. Them happy. Forget them, because only about 8,000, forget them. And the General Council will have been meeting virtually. We don't even know them as PSA members. We don't know who they are. Forget them, I tell you all you. This morning is about all you who don't pay all your dues because there is not members. Leroy Baptiste is telling the 60-something, 70-something thousand all you. For he members, he is taking that for he members. He ain't the public service, you know. Who he does negotiate on behalf of, say he members. So he has pulled we away from all you. And this morning, I pulling all you with me and telling all you, he needs to take the matter of the High Court, 74%, so all they could get a little kakala, or you could buy a brick with it, you could buy some cement with it, you could buy some sand with it, you could buy whatever you want with it. He's denying all that opportunity, Dominic.
Yes.
Thank you this morning for the opportunity.
Thank you, then. You too. Well, they can't say it like Jenny says it. Remember the other day, see when they talk about these union leaders, right? And these union, they for the poor. Really? What Roger driving? A wet man? We know what Leroy driving? Range Rover? Right? It's PDE 7777, something so. Yeah. Meanwhile, the public servants who he represents, we say, yeah, we holding out because we want to make sure you all get more than 4%. Okay. When all their colleagues who supported by other unions get the back pay. Anyway. Eric, you getting your back pay for Christmas?
Morning.
Yeah, you getting your back pay, right?
Of course. If I would have a bright Christmas 2023. If I know if, no but or no maybe. But I want to say good morning to all the listeners and the viewers, the fans, but at the end of the day, Dominic, I think that Leroy Baptiste is a wicked and disingenuous man as the president of the Public Service Association. You mean to tell me, all right, and I agree with Sister Jenny 110%. 2014 to 2019, that period done pass, that done gone, that done blow out in the wind. Let me just bite the bullet, take your little 4%, and you move on to negotiation going forward. So you mean to tell me that you want to keep the public sector in bondage for that 6-year period, 6-year period? Because why? You want to be a part of a senatorship in the UNC, it's alleged. So you rather sacrifice people's well-being and people's personal space. Because right now, I tell you, Dominic, I know people right now who is my friends who in the public sector. They're grousing right now. They're vexed. You understand? One called me Monday, and tell me, if you have boy, well, I'm coming back for Christmas. I said, well, come through. We go drink something, nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that. You understand?
Yes.
Right now, he says, some of them say they're going to withdraw their money from PSA. They're going to withdraw their money because they say this not making no sense. What is the sole purpose of the Public Service Association? They are not defending anybody. And if you look at it, Dominic, the only set of people did not sign off on that 4% was the PSA, the NGUFW, whatever it's called, Lambert and them. But then again, who is Lambert? Lambert wasn't a temporary UNC senator back in the PP time.
Vice President of the Senate.
Right. So And he and Batista's friends. So what do you expect? They are planning to frustrate the public sector in this country, to give the public sector, right, that a sense of hopelessness, that the government don't care about you all. So come 2025, as what Sister Jenny would have said, they want to drag out this whole thing to let the public vote out the government because they don't like we. They give me 4% or they take that. At the end of the day, Dominic, they always say, there's a saying, half a loaf is better than none. You see what TNTech did? TNTech went to the industrial court, the TNTech police, and what they got? They got 0, 0, 0. Right? You want to go to the courts, the high court, right, to get this in the public sector. So instead of you're giving the 3-year break, you want to get them 5 years by 5 years. So all right, 2014 to 2019, and then 2019 to 2024. That make any sense? That make any sense? Right now, people real vex because, and here what happened, Dominic, I tell you something. That's going to have a backlash, eh? Yeah. It going to have a serious backlash. All of them inside the that public sector association, right? All of them inside there, them business fixing up. Just like Roger and them, and Lambert and them don't care about the well-being of the people who they represent. You understand? They don't care. Look, the Fire Service Association, the Police Welfare Association, the prisons, Defense Force, amalgamated, tutor. I think one of the again signed off on they say, yeah, what? At the end of the day, we in agreeing, we didn't like the package we got, but that period done passed. So let me champion the cause for our people who we represent. And that is what you call defendants of the people you're working under. Yes. You understand? But as I always say, Leroy Batista and them is wicked fellas. They're wicked. They're wicked according to the one. Oh, they're too wicked. You understand? They simply sign up the thing. People right now, people was expecting a little kakana when people hear that money paid December. And then you telling me how to spend my money. If I choose to spend if it's how much money I get, if I said to buy a car, to buy whatever, that is my money. I work for. Yes. So you can't tell me how to spend my money. I don't tell you to spend your money when you go and buy whatever you want to buy. But them wicked boy, them wicked, and the UNC like that because they go say yes. Only frustrate the public sector, frustrate them. So they will get vexed with the government and they will vote them up because we are 4%. People take Sister Jenny advice. This country joking, not money. Yes. Because I'm telling you, if it was any other country, people are gonna be out there right now. Picketing the pavement in front of the PSA office and demanding that Leroy Batiste take that matter out of the court and settle it. So at least the public sector could get money enough for Christmas this year, but sometime probably the first quarter next year, probably March, April next year. So people could still at least get a little dollar in their pockets. But as I always say, we just protested the wrong thing in this country. You understand? We just protested the wrong thing. But people, I know my Christmas is going to be very bright 2023. So if they want to pass through for a drink, or let it pass through. Right? Dominic, good program. I love to not listening.
Thank you, sir. Oh, Lord. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
Dominic, I too listened to the well, I guess that's part of the clip on what you were saying. Something that struck out what your Guti said is that the finance minister is very disrespectful. So in other words, he taken that personal. It's not about the PSA. It's about him.
Right.
And that's where I find the issue is because if it all has already been established in the industrial court that none of the unions could have proven that the government could pay, because what the court is saying is that the government put forward a case in the court, the unions put forward a case, and the court will always rule that okay, well, there's nothing we can do to force the government hand because that the government is the employer,
right?
Because the government has shown where they didn't have the money to pay. Well, I would have, as a trade union, I would have grandchild and branchild, but I'd sign on the dotted line and take it 4% and done with that, and then start a new process now that the government now is running a balanced budget and all these things. Now I could actually start at that 20%, and if I get 12%, that's good.
Right.
For my workers and them. But Leroy is telling us that he thinks so he going to some special tribunal and have to prove whatever point, but it will still end up to the thing that the years in question, the government can pay. It's establishing the court of Leroy, but this is wasting people's time. And when he said that the finance minister is very disrespectful, it says to me that he takes that personal, because to me I look at it as an answer to the final statement on wrapping up the budget, that what the finance minister would have said. He'd have called out the unions and who have been settled, and then he made it clear to the PS to start in the process of paying the money, and he said, I want it done now. I'm telling you, I'm wanting you to do it now. And then he went to talk about the PSA and whatever little franchise and the thing, the disgruntled one who still didn't sign on the dotted line. And he mentioned these people. So Leroy looking like such a fool in the eyes of the public. That is why he come now to make that excuse. But I am also going to say is that Leroy Baptiste changed the laws of the PSA to stay on after the age of retirement.
Right.
Leroy Baptiste would have to retire from WASA. So Leroy Baptiste is not attached to any section of the government service to command being at the head of PSA, because Jennifer Baptiste could have done that, and she didn't. The constitution that governs the PSA is very weak. All those are loopholes, and I'm asking Saunders and them when they get in, because sooner or later they will get in. Leroy Baptiste cannot stay there the helm of that work for life. They need to amend that law. There's a lot of things in the PSA that needs to be amended, because at the end of the day, it's not about workers, it's about them, because Leroy Baptiste is going to have a fantastic Christmas, So when he's telling workers and then that he's not taking that money for them, that means they're out, because the government also said that it will be tax-free. So you have nothing. But Leroy Baptiste will pay himself all the perks and everything one time, so he don't have to worry about getting a ham on the table. You don't have to worry about buying paint to paint the house and nails to fix the gate. You don't worry about that. He's already covered by that. And who's paying for that? Workers. Because that's where the funding coming from. Workers. So I totally agree with Jenny, because Jenny has educated over the years. Jenny has educated me on the things of law and how it works, because sometimes we as workers get it wrong, and when we badger our employer, the court won't support you on the avenue it takes. But if you understand how labor laws work, and you badger your employer and you're talking law, you don't really they listen to you. But anytime you badger an employer and based on you do not even know the law and everything, they get rid of you. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Indeed. Yeah, as I just mentioned industrial relations on Monday night. It was feel like Abdullah wanted to lash me. Anyway, all of them banding together. Government need to take a pay cut And the government needs to take a pay cut. Why they don't call on these union leaders to take a pay cut? All these Jews you all paying. Well, you're paying for them to drive nice cars and so on. And you see this thing about when, also in the interview with Karen Teixeira, and a lot of them will talk about that the money that the government spend is not their money, it's our money. And it's our money. And let me tell you something. Every member of the cabinet, all 23 members, are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So you see that money, all I say is not their money, it's their money too. Because they are plenty, all of them paying plenty more income tax, and plenty of you all would like to talk less about it's we money and it's we money. And it's thanks to the same Kid Rowley that a lot of you all who always like to talk about taxpayers' money and it's we money. Thanks to Kid Rowley and the PNM that some of you all no longer pay income tax. Don't forget that, sir. Don't forget that at all. Hello, good morning. Yes.
Hey, good morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I hear you.
Good program as usual. Yeah, Dominic, let me tell you something. You see what's going on right here in this place? I think a lot of people in this country is following a lot of people who are mentally challenged and mentally deranged. Imagine that Ms. Jane who had been buffing school at the shoot for years and be telling people do not vote for Solomon Washington Duke and his cohorts. Now that his lacking is the head of the PSA. What do you expect? You expect no quality leadership from that individual and either from Washington Solomon Duke. So the members get stabbing behind the back. And it's suffering for it. And I think too, whenever the media houses have certain issues in this country, when it comes to the economy, they always go into these anti-PNM economists, and that's one of them who hate the free tertiary education so much. He's one who's an advocate of the dollar for dollar education, the funding, right? Or they go into this man for advice, for economic advice. And all the same damn stupidness, diversification, tourism, not enough money for things. Then when it comes to agriculture, all they go to the sheep and goat representative, who's the next anti-PNM person. Why are you going to these people? They don't have any alternative people in this country to talk about that. When I go to the energy thing, when it comes to energy, or you go to the former energy minister, or you go and talk to the former energy minister. You see the pattern? You see the pattern, Dominic?
Indeed.
When it comes to the politics now, or you turn into Ralph Maraj, Mariana Brown, when it comes to I know this new wannabe deputy political leader, Karen Teixeira. What is the logic in that? And people gravitating towards these people. And in the very other stop interviewing these people and go to other people there who have their opinion. But of course they want to spread a narrative. And of course, don't talk about Tobago issues. Or you're going to this Tobago lawyer. And if it's not a Tobago lawyer, or you're going to one of the Winford James brothers. Dominic, you have a good day. I don't know what to say again.
You and me both.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
But Dominic, when is your program coming back on Synergy?
I'm not sure yet. I'm just waiting on I'm just waiting with on.
Well, I hope something comes in. I hope they're not going to set you up.
Yes.
Anyway, you have a good day.
Thank you. Seven 1763. Let's see. Looking for something here. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Mohammed.
Morning, sir.
I'll tell you something about the PSA. The public service has a large membership as a public service.
Right.
Not necessarily members of the PSA. And what happens is this. Do you remember a few years ago under the Pate regime when the tutor called out the teachers on strike? A statement was made by the then president of the Mahasabha, the late Maharaj. He said that one thing that the nation could be sure of, not one Hindu teacher is going to go on strike.
Yes.
Right? But now he didn't say that when the other teachers got what they got from the government, that none of the Hindu teachers was going to accept the rain.
Right.
Never said so.
Mm-hmm.
So what tends to happen is this: within the public service, there are a certain group of people who don't ever protest. What they do, they sit and wait on the protesters to achieve their objective so that they could enjoy the spoils. It's like the lion. You know, the lioness is the real hunter.
Yes.
But when she pulls down a prey, the first individual who goes to eat is the male.
Mm-hmm.
And he dictates sometimes who comes after. If he has his cubs around, he might give them a meal, even before the lioness who actually kill the prey.
Yes.
So this is how the public service is made up. So what happens is this: a lot of the people who would have been proactive within the PSA are leaving in droves because they are disappointed. And then there are others who sit and they don't really care if the sun come up, down, carnage way down. They don't really care about that. Mm. You understand? They're just waiting on the spoils to enjoy.
Yes.
Now, I am a retiree. And I, unfortunately, I retired in 2018.
Right.
And I tell myself, unfortunately, the situation I'm looking at it. Mm-hmm. I'm no longer a member of the PSA, but there's nothing I could do about it.
Right.
So like that is like the gentleman, the police officer who put his knee on the gentleman in the United States. That's how this gentleman has me. Mm. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
And I cannot really do anything about it, which is a pity, really. You understand? That's a case of the old saying, Nero fiddles while Rome burns, Mr.
Yes.
Batista, whatever. He's enjoying himself, you understand? And we have to sit down and relax. Because, look, I called this lady earlier this week and I told him that one of the things that you have to teach those individuals is the meaning of negotiation. Mm. When you negotiate, Dominic,
yes,
you go with an open mind because, like, McCarthy, who just got out in the United States, and the president, both of them, when they went to the recently with some Congress, the first statement they made was that you would never get everything you want.
Correct.
You must be able to compromise in certain situations that any damn fool and his brother could know that what it is you have to do is to take the 4% and sit down and organize yourself for the next negotiation. What you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot, because when you go to the industrial court, you get 10-20%. With the rate of inflation, it really wouldn't worth you a spit, because you'll come right back down. And of course, you'll be giving the business community an opportunity to do as usual, not to raise the prices. You understand, Dominic?
Yes. Yes.
But then, as I told you, I'm a retiree, so what I could do, I'm not as active as how I used to be before.
Right.
And my expenses are obviously less than how it used to be before.
Right.
So unfortunately, unlike many of the other public servants who are active on duty, I don't need to be involved in as much expenditure as they would. You understand?
Yes.
So I might be better able to weather the storm now.
Right.
But whilst all of that is going on, I'm just being very patient and very observant. And unlike many other people, I listen quite a lot. Thank you, Mr. Rumi.
You're most welcome, sir.
Have a nice day.
You too. Leroy and Abercrombie Hayden. Jenny.
Dominic?
Yeah, Jen.
I just want to tell the retiree before you just now, they have a choice, they could do something. If I'm not mistaken, the Minister of Finance is giving us $1 billion, $4,000 is for the retirees, and it's tax-free. who you retire between 2014 to 19. So all the retirees could do something because all they affected too, whether he's a PSA member or not. He's denying only having a $4,000 in all their hand. So those all they can't do anything. All voices need to come out on this. Why is Liberties denying retirees come out of the service? Some of them are PSA members for years. They never get. It's only other general properties primers. You used to get something in PSA. Duke raising the price of dues from $50 to $100 just so when we get the 14%. Just so without talking to nobody, and we paying that money every year, and we not every month. Ain't getting nothing for it. And now you're retired, you wasn't a member or not of the PSA, and you're not supposed to fight to get money for you. As small as the money is, because you have to understand the economic environment at the time you're fighting for the money. And when they get the money, and when they denying pensioners, they're not talking to PSA members no more. Pensioners all day. He denying when they get a $4,000 in all their hand. And all you know, if he take that matter out the court in the morning, public officers, PSA, all of them will work overtime because they are affected too. That's the next thing. People see the just ordinary workers like we are affected now. Permanent secretary, deputy permanent secretary, directors of HR, senior HR officers, AO1, AO2, AO3, AO4, everybody, you know. So when they think it's just the low workers alone, they ain't getting this money. All them permanent secretaries and all them ministries and them who want to make up the money for the unions who settle. The permanent secretary in education, she will get to the Kakada, or he will get to the Kakada because the union settled. If there's a PSA member, they have nothing to get and they're making up money for all the tutor members and them. Because if it's not a teacher or whatever the profession, tutor represents you. So the permanent secretary in education, if there's a public officer represented by PSA or there's a member or not, you make enough money for the other workers, all them teachers and all of them, and you have nothing to get. It's the same in all the ministries and them cycling. If you ever take that matter out the court in the morning, public officers who work in accounts and all them areas and the permanent secretaries and them will work day and night to make sure we get our money in time. That's how dread it is. So retirees only have a voice, $4,000. I sure they could do something, or a little glasses, so a little medication, or you might want to buy a little brick to fix the house, buy a little window, you might want to see a TV like, he denying all that to like all that stuff for Christmas time, so we not spending a little money. You can't tell me how to spend the money. When we broke up, we done like we business. And nothing to do with you, Liberties. Nobody will come and ask Liberties for no money. Why Liberties ain't cut his salary and help some families when the man come? Why Felicia Thomas ain't cut his salary and help? So when they got Abdullah and them talking about Manda cutting salary. When he was a member of the MSG and there was in the PT government, why he didn't cut his salary? All of them, the union men, and then let's talk about the bourgeoisie and the politicians living a life, a luxury while they live on crumb. But they want to be the same bourgeoisie because they're living a life, a luxury while we the members who pay everybody living on crumbs. How Rosa living, how Anistat living, how Abdullah living. How all of them listen? The simplest one that had as them as a union leader is a man who comes from communication, Mr. Remy. Just tell a man simple driving the whole car still and all that. All of them must be driving an expensive car. They eat in royal cars and KFC no more. They go in a restaurant with $3, $4, $5, and $600. So don't let them come wrong with a tell me. But the politicians living in style, they want to be a politician. Then as a labor person, you're supposed to reject that and say, no, I don't want no part in that. But all of them want to live their life. They want to live like Cameron. They want to this one, that one. I want to tell you. I want over here and say, the government can't because they're living in luxury. But your position leader, she's the highest paid public officer in this country. All they don't tell she nothing. And why she don't give back his pension and then she gets pension when she was a prime minister. She gets this pension, that pension. One then she give it back. One what you need, the tall man on the ground. The little we have to get now. All I want to stop me from getting that too. You ever see so wicked, evil, bad, and tears at the public officers who is not PSA member, they go fall and you see how Duke looking? Duke looking as if a ton of bricks fall and the man looking all and the shovel and bad. You ever taste it? Leroy Baptiste. I will die what I will tell you. I don't know.
Thanks, Jerry. It's serious. Yeah, but public servants need to come out when it matters, because it matters. If it is Leroy, I remember it's not just PSA members affected by what is he doing. Those who are not members, those who are affected, again, come now, man, Leroy. What are you doing? What are you really doing, Leroy? Pretty sure if you pass by Leroy house for Christmas, it's Johnny this and Johnny that, and what are you going to do? Watson put him there. I'm sure if Watson come back in the morning, you have public servants who will not put him back there. You see, I could probably take one more so feel free to 770-1763. Yes, Kurt Douglas says such. Yeah, I need to PSA that she makes.
Dominic!
Good morning, sir.
Dominic, what's going on?
All is well, sir. How can I assist you this morning?
Dominic, you let me down.
Oh, Lord, Father. Go ahead.
You told me you did not listen to what Mariano Brown had to say about the Dragon deal.
Uh-huh.
So I'm waiting for you to listen to what he had to say and comment on what he had to say.
Well, I've been listening what he said and nothing else he said.
On top of that, you went and sit down with Mariano Brown at 95.5.
Uh-huh.
And you made no mention about it. You asked no questions about it.
All right, wait, hold up. Before you go any further, we were supposed to start at 5. The minister went beyond 5 o'clock. We started at 6:25. Mariano Brown indicated that he had to go on some television station and he could only stay for 20 minutes. So Adin asked us if we could allow Mariano to say his piece and leave. All right? So that is what happened there. Continue.
And on top of that, Dominic, Colin Inbert now want to give Stuart Young a medal.
Uh-huh.
Why do you want to give Dr. Rowley a medal too?
Uh-huh.
Because you know, Colin Inbert and Dr. Rowley don't see eye to eye.
Really?
You didn't know that?
I don't know that.
Well, if you didn't know that, Dominic, you know now.
Because I heard Mr. Inbert. I heard Mr. Inbert mention both Stuart Young and Dr. Rowley. With reference Dr. Rowley. Mr. Young. So anyway, hello, good morning.
Because I, financially, in terms of have any degree or anything in finance and those things, but when I look at the budget, out of the 54 billion, whatever plus that the government is getting from, you're looking at taxes and the oil revenues and those corners that get the money from, say, estimating that is what you're going to get.
Mm.
And then your budget pegged at 59 billion. So it means somewhere along the line you'll be borrowing to fill those gaps to get things done.
Yes.
Now, they break it down to tell you which ministry that gets funded. And then you have Tobago, which will get about 3 billion, around that, 3 billion, 3 point something billion. I am also looking at the ministries spending millions in Tobago. So on the House of Assembly gets that about 3 billion to spend. Also, remember Trinidad and Tobago, one country. So the ministry have to undergo woodworks, Ministry of Works, building of an airport, Ministry of Health, building of a health center, hospital, the social welfare programs. All these other ministries will be spending their allocation in Tobago. So when you add that up, because it's for Tobagonians, those are spending in Tobago to better the lives of Tobagonians. to be in the budget to be able to get something like $12 billion out of that whole budget of the thing. This is why I was trying to estimate it as that cost, but people need to understand that, especially Tobagonians, because the politicians will always keep fooling them and the government stopping them and doing it for spite that they're not doing. The law in Tobago Act clearly states that with the autonomy, central government still has their part to play, and they are playing it because they're all getting a better airport, because the airport is high time that airport has been renovated and fixed properly to accommodate large airlines, because that was a complaint of the large airlines and them that could get to Tobago. They don't want to land the plane, take the risk of the plane on a emergency where it could get damaged and lives could be injured. No airline wants to take that. You have to be of a certain standard for the large airlines. So who undergoes that? Central government. So you have to build a hospital with a capacity of X amount of beds and outfit it with the necessary equipment and modern day equipment. Who undergoes that? Central government. And you see, even though you talk about autonomy, there is also that separation, and also within the separation, there's a one body, that the THA central government is always one. So no matter how much money you will give to Tobago, the central government still has to pump and get things done and projects and put money into Tobago. So central THA, Fali and them, and when it was PNM, and then they had a budget that they would spend and they would do their projects. If they want to do this, they want to do that. Within the laws, they can go ahead and do it. It's how we are spending money. And Fali has made a statement. I don't know if I hear it, but I'd like you to go back and hear it. But the same program with Fazil Mohammed and them, that he's saying that actually the money that he gets from Trinidad is about $14 to $150 they were receiving.
$4. He was saying $4.36. $4.36.
Okay, he making an argument and he really didn't explain where he's coming from with that argument. But I'm telling him, well, then if it's so, then why are you giving mega projects to Trinidad businessmen? Because the money you get to spend at Tobago, you're putting it back in the hands of Trinidad businessmen who going back to Trinidad with the money. And that's, you're just not making sense to the point you're trying to make. Although he needs to explain what he means by that, says every dollar is $4. Fali is not. He's not qualified to run Tobago. He makes a lot of error. And he would sit down among fellas like Vanis James and them and hear them talk them kind of notices without properly well thinking about it. And he repeats it because I didn't think he understands what the hell he's talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. But basically, how he arrived at that. So he would look at the total spend package, right? If it's 50-something billion and they get in, we say 2.5 or 2.6. So when you work out the maths, it's like they're 2.5 billion as a percentage of the 50-something billion. It works out to $4 and something cents that they get in. So he's saying it's 53 billion or 54 billion we get 2.5, and then Trinidad gets in the next 52 billion. So if you work the math, you will see how it works out, how we get in that $4 and something cents. But they don't. What is disingenuous on the part of Fali and they is that they don't talk about the, aside from what they get, what is allocated to them that they could draw down from the ministry, that the Ministry of Finance, that is, you have the other ministries that are allocated monies to spend that as part of their budget to spend in Tobago. Right, so with respect, the minister would have spoken about the airport, the Ministry of Works and so on, who will spend money from their budget to pave roads and do these different things. They're not including that. So when you add that, I think it works out an additional $600 and something million allocated to the various ministries to do work in Tobago. So it ends up working out to over $3 billion that they get. But Fali is saying that the law states that Tobago is supposed to get a maximum of I think is between 4.5 and 6% or something, so of the total budget, and that they never get that full amount. Which ministry gets what the full amount that they request? If it is that every ministry were to get exactly what they ask for, the budget will probably have to be about $100 million a year. So I mean, come on now, man, Fali. Hello?
Yeah, good morning, Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ali is paying smart furniture. That is part of Canada market again. Apparently, they want half of the budget. So, a country, you running Tobago with a population of $60,000, and you probably want half of the budget. Does that make sense to you, Dominic?
No.
Mathematically speaking. So, what is their logic?
Yeah.
One is getting the pressure from Fari and them is that they want half of the budget. That is all that's the whole point, you know. But your population in Tobago is about, what, 60,000, 70,000 people?
About 65,000.
And this thing, Mr. Livide, this hatred you have with Rowley and Stuart Young and Imbert, particularly Mr. Imbert. You know what some people don't like Mr. Imbert? Besides we call him Dwayne and Duppy, it's because of his so-called career. I think because he's an architect engineer. An architect engineer should not be the Minister of Finance. You could be that. At one time, a senior member of the union talk about that. You know, they have a problem with Mr. Imbert because he is an architect, and architect should not be a finance minister. But I remember many years ago in Bashir Pandey administration, many years ago, there was a dentist who was the Minister of Education.
Yeah, under Kamala, there was a gynecologist.
Remember Adish Adish Danan? He was a dentist and they made him Minister of Education.
Yeah, but Gopi Singh was the education minister and he's a gynecologist.
Of course, so I want to know what is the problem? This is what I'm talking about.
Karen Nunes Teixeira was a lawyer.
What's up?
Karen Teixeira was a lawyer.
You see what I mean? Make sense of the thing, man. Oh gosh, man, the only people really miserable, boy. Dominic, go on. And don't forget, during the People's Partnership, a number of ministers who were loyal around the country. Have a good day.
You too.
Don't forget.
Eric, like a John Livide.
Hello?
Yes, like you're coming to respond to Livide.
But I didn't hear what you saying. I was saying I didn't really hear what you say. What you say?
You know the usual thing. You tell me I didn't challenge Mariano Brown on what he said about the drug and gas, but
I
had to explain to him what was the situation.
Dominic,
yes,
say something. Don't waste your time explaining nothing to them, so because whether you explain or you ain't explain, they still won't understand. So it makes no sense. But with that call, I got to understand that the Chief Secretary of Tobago decided to pay the ex-gratia payment. I don't know how true it is. I was hearing it through the grapevine. I ain't know how true. But he said this. He said either by this year or the next year, Tobago just going to get the ex-gratia payment. I know how true. That probably was clamoring for more money from the Minister of Finance.
Yeah, but I saw a document that was sent out by the chief administrator in Tobago, the new chief administrator. With respect to that, saying that there were concerns raised about the legitimacy and the legality of this ex-gratia payment. Persons were in opposition to it, and the chief secretary override those concerns and say, pay it. So, yeah.
Well,
if you go on Elizabeth Williams' Facebook page, Elizabeth Williams, you'll see.
I will go there and look for it.
Yeah.
But I must say, that was 2021. 2 years later.
They were supposed to get it for Christmas last year.
Huh?
They were supposed to get it for Christmas last year.
No, not last year. They were supposed to get Christmas that same year.
Yeah.
In 2021.
And last year too. They were supposed to get September last year, June this year.
Yeah, but I hear he was a bit upset at Paterm about the allocation that he received for Tobago. But we understand something. Tobago have a population of about 65,000 people. What the hell he wants $4.5 billion to do? Tobago just a percentage of Trinidad population. Not that you want money, they want to spend to travel, all about the place. But as I was saying, let me see if they've already paid the gas share payment. This time around, we'll wait and see. And leave it there. Oh God, easy up now. It's every day is the same thing with Dr. Rowley. I always tell you, the man is happily married. Man have a wife and grandchildren. So this man alone now. Talk about Kamla. Talk about Fale. Talk about Motomouth. You understand? Dr. Rowley he ain't interested in you. You understand? And it's a lot of listening.
Thank you, sir. So, 54, folks. Yes, let me see. Ian Glowden says, tell Mr. Batiste if he wants you all to forgo the 4%, that he should forgo his salary and perks for the same time period also. Indeed. Jama says, Leroy Batiste, go home, you dinosaur, you're wicked. Leroy Batiste said, people spend their money before, after Christmas, the businesses will still get the money. You're a special type of dunce. Debs Baker, morning, Deb. I met Debs last week or week before. I think it was on Richmond Street. Morning to you. She says, yes, Kola, it's very tiring in this country. Now so many people fighting against progress. Yes. Marva Burgess says, cannot do the job but holding on to it. That's who they are. Kathy Ann Yearwood says, these unions don't give back nothing to the workers who pay dues. Nothing. So true. So true. Yeah. But people like Karen Tishara wouldn't talk about the union. It was only Rowley and Imbut and this government is worse and this government singing the same tune as her colleague Louis Leasing. He said this government is the greatest example of governance that never was, and that the former administration under Kamla was the second greatest example of government that never was. So in other words, the PNM under Keith Rowley has performed worse than the People's Partnership. So they say. But I went to St. Augustine a couple days ago to visit a client. St. Augustine Private Hospital. Right next door, right across the road, another branch of Starbucks is under construction, as well as another branch of Super Farm right across the road on the Eastern Main Road. So this is about what? Branch number 4 or branch number 5 of Starbucks that opening. But they're telling you the economy in shambles and the economy on the brink. Christian Mute is not a stupid man. Christian Mute and his father before him, Victor E. Mute. You know why Prestige Holdings is where it is today? You know why Trinidad and Tobago has the most number of KFC outlets per capita in the world? It's because they are bright businessmen and there is demand. They're making money. So he wasn't going to spend his money to construct a brand new branch of outlet of Starbucks when he could just go and rent space in a mall. He's not doing that. He's building because this is permanence. And if it is, the economy was in shambles. He wasn't going to take millions of dollars to go and build a new branch. He's smart. Put Super Farm right across the road from St. Augustine Private Hospital. So all who go in there, and you know why? Because St. Augustine Private Hospital have getting business. People go in there. Oh, we suffer in the healthcare sector in this country is the worst. But they go in there and doing surgeries. You have doctors inside there doing surgeries from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 in the evening. They can't make money. Telling you. I have a client that when I go, that doctor lists every day, sometimes 6, 7, 8 surgeries that you're doing. People go in the car park always full. The car park outside and the one on the inside, waiting room. You see people inside there. They have money to pay for private healthcare, but they complaining, oh, we can't afford to buy food and be suffering and the economy in shambles. Really? Well, apparently Christian Mute, Prestige Holdings, Agostini Holdings and Vemcot, they didn't get the they didn't get the memo that the economy is in shambles. Tell that to the owners of Extra Foods, that massive Well, I don't know if it's a grocery or whatever. It is the building in Arang West there by the interchange, the roundabout, opposite that big building that Amalgamated just put up there. Bigger than most of the other outlets they have. Go and check. Apparently they didn't get the memo either. And this new plaza that they're building on Nasolu Ramaya Road by the Ministry of Agriculture, go down there. Whole set of development taking place on that stretch with the what's this place? The Pennywise Plaza. And they have another plaza coming after there. Go inside Pennywise Plaza. All of the booths filled. Right? All of them occupied. But they want to tell you that the economy in shambles. The economy is the worst it's ever been. Tishara telling you the economy is not growing, but yet still the manufacturing sector, 54% growth, right? The government expects to collect some $35 billion in revenue from the non-oil sector, 16 billion from the energy sector, 35 billion from the non-oil sector. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? But she comes to tell you the economy and it's not growing under this administration, and we need to diversify. Because if you have mangoes and you're selling you sold 4 mangoes this year at a particular price, and then next year the price of mangoes, but you make more money, but you're selling 4 mangoes. It is not the responsibility of the government for diversification. I don't know how else to say it. The government's responsibility is to ensure that we have an enabling environment to support entrepreneurship. It is the private sector that has to drive diversification. But everybody just wants to be in retail. So you import stuff, you open a store and you sell it. Because they realize people buying stuff, spending millions of dollars online to buy things from Amazon and bring it in. So there's opportunity there. So let me spend some money. So they're not focusing on manufacturing, bring in raw materials, make stuff, sell some in Trinidad, sell some up the Caribbean, sell some, try and penetrate the US market, the European market, the Chinese market, and all of that, because we still have supply chain issues coming out of COVID. But we're not taking advantage of these opportunities. She's not talking about that, but it's the government, because diversification is the government. And the minute the government tries to do something with respect to diversification, you have the opposition go jump up and ball. The government not supposed to be competing with the private sector. They're crowding out the private sector. 6 or 1 half a dozen the next. So what is all you want to do? You want them to. But all these so-called men and women of letters and they're bright, they ain't talking that. They're not going to say, well, let's go and speak to the TTMA. That's why Langston Roach and all of these people, they're manufacturing, they're selling their stuff. Opportunities, Guyana have money. Well, they're supposed to have money. That's why businesses here run into Guyana. Instead of investing the money in our economy, they run into Guyana because it have oil money there. So all of them going and spend money to open up, to buy things in Guyana. Well, to open businesses in Guyana. But Karen wouldn't talk about that and the impact that is having on our own economy. Look, I don't know what to say with these people, but they know that there's a cohort, a constituency of persons out there who only like to hear bad thing about the government. All the positive things. She ain't gonna talk about the Homestead program. She wouldn't talk about the initiative by the government to create 1,000 new entrepreneurs by 2025. $20 million funding that is to be set aside. The facility that the government is willing to create space for persons who want to start a business and you don't have the space, home or wherever it is, we will give you a space in this facility to start your business. All of that contributes to diversification, right? 1,000 entrepreneurs. 1,000 entrepreneurs. And they're going to hire people too. And would they not serve as inspirations for other people to say, well, okay, well, my partner was part of this program. It's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing thing. 1,000, you hear anybody else, any other party talking about creating entrepreneurs in the way that this administration is doing, and they put in the money where the mouth is. Put in the money where the mouth is. So the building facilities, we're giving you money to start your business. You don't have to pay it back. But if you need further financial support, we setting it up with Netco, take out Netco, and you got everything there. Eventually, as your business grows, you could go in the bank. We're giving you technical support for 18 months. We're helping you to work with the Ministry of Trade to be able to if you want to get into export TT, and all of that, we put in stuff in place. No talk about that. The issue of the Forex, she wanted to talk about the foreign reserves, that in 2015 it was 10 billion and now it dropped to 6 point something. But she wouldn't tell you why it dropped to 6 point something. That the government is using the country's foreign reserves rather than it just sitting down there. They're using some of that to pump into the system to provide supply so that the exchange rate wouldn't go to $8 and $9 and $10. She wouldn't talk about that. No. I have nothing to say about that. You were the best Minister of Finance ever. But all those things, you're not going to come and tell the population. You're going to talk about the forex. The minister said he's going to put things in place to create priority for small and micro enterprises so that they will be able to access US to be able to do their business, so they wouldn't have to be complaining about the banks through the Export-Import Bank. All of that, put things in place so they will get preferential treatment, especially those in the business of manufacturing and so on. All of these things was articulated in the budget speech. She ain't talk about that before I leave this month, because I've got to go. Hello, good morning. Yes, sir.
Also, you have to let these people who are trying to fool us, the people with the letters behind the name, is that why would international company like that, KFC and all these big name companies, food and beverages, that's just one section I'm talking about. Would want to come and invest in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
Because Victor owns KFC, he's a franchise holder of KFC. So it says to me that the KFC brand has invested in Trinidad and Tobago through Victor. And that's why that's how they get his shares.
Right.
And the shares that I know that he gets back from Trinidad and Tobago, when you look at per capita, there's a gold mine in KFC, because KFC, I remember I once heard that the Port of Spain branch in per capita makes the most amount of money worldwide in all KFC outlets.
Yes.
All throughout the world. So I'm just saying these things to let people think. The reason why investors are now flocking to Trinidad and Tobago, because we see people like Wendy's and them who see a left gone, come thing, and they come back again. And Wendy's has now come innovative, because what they do is everything is in a container and they just bring it on and they set up BAM, and it's so easy to do that one and they go Martin.
Yes.
But they come in here to invest. And why they come in here to invest? Because rating companies like Moody's and Standard & Poor's and them is giving Trinidad and Tobago the thumbs up. They're not listening to Karen Nunez Teixeira. They're not looking at her. They're not looking at the UNC best energy minister, Kevin Ramnarine. The man, when he started to talk about, he spoke to the fact that the oil, the gas, and how the thing, and Faris Harari had when Fergie asked Faris to reply to that, and Faris started to tell them it didn't just started under the PNM. He said under Kevin Ramnarine, and he should know that. Because he lied and said that they shut down for maintenance, and it was that they wasn't getting the gas.
Yes.
And Faris interrupted to talk about, they're talking about the yellow scales and the yellow scales. There's the thing to blame the yellow scales. As if for zero asked the question and asked him to reply, and the man isn't replying to it. And how we end up in such a state with the energy system. You understand? With the best minister making allegations that he can't support, and when he gets in the facts around it, for reason to interrupt. And he did that right through. So they could tell us how much they wanted to stay. That is just to fool masses to get votes. Because I'm going to tell you, no investor internationally, none, ain't coming to Trinidad and Tobago and put the money inside the antenna. It's time for them to get back the money they can't get out.
Yes.
Nobody ain't doing that.
Correct.
You put your money inside there, people thief it out. And you lose all your money. Nobody ain't doing that. That's the reason why Dr. Rowley was able to go to England first and then to America to get them to reverse that deal that Kevin and them made and to start a fresh deal. And you know what was so good about it? Dr. Rowley convinced these people and them so good that we get back the money retroactive. So it says to me, you see the money that Kamala wasn't getting when she was Prime Minister, 2014, 2015, coming up there, she wasn't getting no revenues from the gases.
Yes.
We get that back.
Yes.
And I thought Dr. Rowley was able to give to all the fellas and them only 14% that Kamala gave them the 14%, knowing that there are no money in the treasury. Understand? So they'll fool us, but thank God it has fellas like you. And I always say that I always had to pray to the God to protect you and guide you. You know, no harm mustn't come around you, because you educate us a lot. I have grown tremendously by just listening to you.
Thank you.
And listening to your facts. And then seeing it, popping it up, and you sit down and put yourself around people who understand certain things. And when you get things that you say, I repeating it to them, and then them further explaining it to me.
Nice.
So now I have learned a lot. And that's why I will listen. When I want to know anything on labor laws, Jenny's a very good person to listen to, because Jenny is not about the union and the government, and she hates the government because government give we 20%, and because Jenny explained the situation. So when you run the bargaining table and he doesn't know, because we know what we back table. We won't get the full truth. Explain to you why they can't do it and things. So let me settle for this because we're going after this, after everything, and we can prove and we getting that.
Yes.
The unions do not tell us that. They have, most of the unions don't have their personal agendas, and they push forward that. And I saw it with the PSA president, Leroy Batiste. He has a personal with the finance minister. So no 5% for public service workers. And he said it for the ones who paying, but the ones who are not paying have to suffer. And that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong, because the ones who are not paying is in the majority. And I am sure 120% that the people who's paying is not fully represented in all of them. Because Jenny's a paying member, and the people that who's lobbying, they are paying members of the PSA.
Correct.
And they do not agree with that. And they just rabble rousing and saying they're given reasonable reasons. And if you want to know better, you could research for yourself and see what they're talking is either fake or is truth, reality. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all so much, folks, for joining me this morning, as always. We will, let me see. Imagine they're taking our revenue and we get none. Yeah, come at a mad out there, Aline. So thank you all again. We will chat on Sunday morning, God's willing, at 11 o'clock. I will not suffer you through listening to Karen, so I will listen to the interview again. I will take some notes and we will address some of the other misinformation that she would have shared yesterday, right? Yeah. I don't even know if I'm going to listen to that nonsense, but anyway. You had to debunk it, eh? You had to debunk it. Yeah, yesterday I found myself in the comments during the program, Mr. Mann talking about Professor misinformation, talking about with bail, that's how that the law say that you're entitled to bail and whatnot, and innocent until proven guilty, and it's for the police to come and prove that you're guilty, so they have to give you bail. No, it is left to the discretion of the judicial officer, if it's the magistrate or the judge, if they want to give you bail. The law simply says that you could apply for bail. It doesn't say that the judge or the magistrate has to give you bail. That's why they have tracing, or supposed to have tracing, to see what is your criminal record and whether you are a flight risk, or if this is somebody who is a menace to society, and society would be better served if they were to remain behind bars. But to come on radio and say, well, they have to give you bail. And the man speaking with authority, But I put it in the comments that you're talking nonsense. But anyway, folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully it's a productive one, and God's willing, we will chat again on Sunday morning. Yeah? So that's it for me today.